Without legislation, that's what I'm going to do.
No government ever voluntarily reduces itself in size.
Nobody is listening to your telephone calls.
No government ever voluntarily reduces itself in size. So government programs once launched never disappear. Actually, a government bureau is the nearest thing to eternal life we'll ever see on this earth. These proliferating bureaus with their thousands of regulations have cost us many of our constitutional safeguards.
The IRS's targeting of Tea Party and conservative groups came from Washington.
If someone did this for political reasons, they should be fired.
I'd like to talk to you about abuse of power.
On the advice, I exercise my Fifth Amendment right and decline to answer that question.
No mass corruption. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Elian Gonzalez has lost his appeal to try to keep him in the United States.
He was not taken at the point of a gun.
We have a photograph showing that he was taken at the point of a gun.
How many of us realize that today federal agents can invade a man's property without a warrant, they can impose a fine without a formal hearing, let alone a trial by jury, and they can seize and sell his property at auction to enforce the payment of that fine? Our natural unalienable rights are now considered to be a dispensation of government.
I will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
Here comes another hour of insensitivity training with Glenn Woods.
Well, the Ferguson thing, the whole uprising, the whole, rioting, Christmas shopping, we'll call it Christmas shopping, may have just been the first spark. Here we go again. It's the Wednesday edition of the Bold Republic Radio Show. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Now, of course, phone number if you want to get involved in the action. You should know by now, if you're a regular to the show, how this works. 307-363-4093. That's 307-363-4093. And, of course, pretty much everything I'm talking about and a whole lot more, you'll find it on my website, which is boldrepublic.com. So, okay, I was moving on from other topics because as far as I'm concerned, and I was telling you this yesterday, that what was happening in Ferguson and other towns around America no longer had to do with Ferguson. Most of those protesters have already gone home. Instead, you see Occupy Wall Street, the anarchist movement, communist movement showing up. The whole thing has been taken over by an entirely different group. Then we have this today. Here's a headline. New York cop not indicted in chokehold death. Now, for those who haven't heard the story, and this has been breaking all day, here's the story, and then we'll pick it apart. And this happened some months ago, just like the Ferguson thing. This happened some months ago. So there was a father of 6, rather big guy. Yes, he's a black man, and was a black man. He's dead now. And he was standing out in front of a store in New York, and the New York City police thought that he was illegally selling cigarettes. So they started to talk to him about it, and we're going to arrest him for it. And he didn't want to be arrested for it. Now, he's a big guy. I mean, I would say bigger than Michael Brown was. He's a big guy, not just tall, but heavy. And the police started to surround him, and they were going to arrest him. Well, he wasn't cooperating. He wasn't putting up a fight, but he was not going to put his hands behind his back either. Whatever they ordered him to do, he just refused to. So the police started to basically climb all over him. They were not beating him up. They were not, batons out and things like that. They were just starting to pull him down to the ground. One of the officers got him in a chokehold. Now, different from what happened in Ferguson, you can watch the entire video for this. It's all over the internet right now since, the grand jury apparently came out with their ruling on this. But they pull him down. One officer has him in a chokehold. Now, this gentleman, this big guy they're trying to arrest, first off, because of his enormous size and weight, has heart problems, also suffers from asthma. So he's on the ground, and he's actually gasping at this point and saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. The police officers are unaware of his medical conditions. The chokehold continues. They have him, they're piled on now. They have him on top. On the ground. They're on top of him. Eventually, he stops moving. He's not breathing anymore. They call an ambulance. I don't believe he even made it to the hospital. All right, now, let's back up and take a clear look at this, because after what just happened in Ferguson, now there's this, and you know what the race baiters are going to say. First off, step one, I'm going to take this from the beginning and go on. This is going to be a lot of information, but let's pick it apart. Everything we have to deal with it on a case-by-case basis, because there are those out there who are going to say, look, here we go again. It's another black man killed by police, and they're getting away with it. That's all they're going to say about it. Let's look at it case by case. We'll go back to Ferguson real quick. What was going on there? Michael Brown was not an innocent victim shot by a police officer. He was attacking a police officer. The police officer defended himself. And we know that to be true. We also know so many people on the scene that claim to be witnesses were not even on the scene. They were lying about witnessing the entire event. So we know a lot of lying took place in Ferguson. So that clears up the Michael Brown thing. That police officer is not guilty of shooting an innocent man. And for those who say, yeah, but Michael Brown didn't have a gun. So a man without a gun is perfectly capable of killing a man with a gun. So you know. So in that case, in that particular case, I agree. Michael Brown died because he was attacking a police officer, and the police officer was defending himself. So let's go back to New York City, since this just came over this morning. A lot of news services. I'm looking at CNN for this particular one. Story reads, a grand jury today decided not to indict a white police officer in the July chokehold death of Eric Garner, an unarmed black man, according to two law enforcement officials. And again, you can watch the video. It was a July 17th account. First question I have for you, and I'm very serious about this. I'm not trying to trivialize this. I'm very serious about this. They were accusing him of illegally selling cigarettes. That's what they were trying to arrest this guy for. Because I can think in New York City, you got a lot of bad things going on. So the police officers, and there were several police officers that took this guy down. That's what they were there for. Somebody was selling cigarettes. All right. If you want to really start picking apart and looking where the mistake was, let's start with that. Cigarettes, really, that's it. That's your crime. This whole thing should have never happened in the first place. And how many cops do you need to take down a guy that was selling cigarettes? So we'll start with that. Now, again, I'm going to pick it apart. There's plenty of blame to go around. So as they're taking Mr. Gardner down to the ground because he doesn't want to be arrested for this, there's the chokehold around the neck. They were not aware of his medical condition. Now, to be fair to the police in this, when you're trying to arrest somebody who is not resisting arrest, again, this fellow was not fighting, but he wasn't cooperating either. They had to bring him down. They were basically slow climbing on him, climbing up all sides of him and bringing him down, including the chokehold. They didn't know he had heart problems. They didn't know he had asthma. And they have him in a chokehold. Now, when he starts to say, I can't breathe, I can understand if they don't want to let him up, because who knows what a guy would do if he's panicked enough and you let him go and he goes, get up in a situation like that. But maybe the police officers need to adjust what they're doing if the person they're taking to the ground says things like, I can't breathe. Like I said, there's plenty of blame to go around here. Let's talk about Mr. Gardner, who was resisting arrest. I could also bring into this, well, okay, it's stupid that they were trying to arrest him for selling cigarettes illegally. Okay, but if that in fact is what he was doing, he shouldn't have been selling the cigarettes and he shouldn't have been resisting arrest. Again, there's plenty of blame to go around here. So we can certainly pick this apart, and I don't see in the video, although I think the police were, quite literally strong-armed him down, I don't think the police officers intended to kill him. I honestly don't think any police officer there, much less the one with the chokehold of Mr. Gardner, intended to kill him. And here's what I worry about, since we're going through this whole nonsense with Ferguson right now. There are those who take advantage of situations like this. If anything, we should review the laws in New York. Cigarettes, really? We should review police procedures. If anything. Now, Tim, who is sending me a video message from Tampa, why is it when it happens to a white guy, they just call it an unarmed suspect? Well, do you remember, Tim? And I brought this up, and this is what I mean by the race baiters out there. This is what I worry about. Look, to the people of New York City, don't do illegal stuff there, because the police are going to come get you. To the police in New York City, you need to review how you take people down to the ground. Obviously, there's a problem here. I don't think the police honestly tried to kill this man. But how come it's not a story? And I've been telling you about this all week long. There was another situation that happened shortly after the Michael Brown incident. That's exactly like the Michael Brown incident, except let's reverse the races. The police officer was black. The young man was white. The young man was also stoned at the time. The situation was pretty much the same. They were even the same age. And the black police officer killed the white young man. Where are the race riots for that? I'm worried about the race baiters in this. Should New York review its laws? Yes. It's stupid to arrest someone for selling cigarettes, for Pete's sakes. Come on, New York. You got better things to do with your police officers than that. Second, people of New York don't do illegal things. Come on. When you do something illegal, here comes the police. Second, to the police, if you're bringing somebody down and they start to say things like, I can't breathe, you're hurting me, whatever they might be saying, I understand you got to take the guy to the ground, but you might want to consider that. Now, to the race baiters out there, this has nothing to do with black and white. You're going to try to say that, well, you can police can kill a black man and get away from it, and that's not what's happening here. You know, but you and I know that that's what they're going to say, right? That's what the Jesse Jacksons are going to say. That's what the Reverend Al Sharptons are going to say, because they want to use this and take advantage of the situation. That's what some members of Congress are going to say. They've already done it. They stood there on the floor of the House of Representatives with their hands up saying, don't shoot, even though in the Ferguson case, that is a lie. Michael Brown never had his hands up. He was never saying, don't shoot. So that is a complete lie. And they know it, but they went ahead and did it anyway. This whole thing, you want to have a conversation about race in this country? Let's go ahead and have a conversation about race. But before we have this conversation, you know who we need to get out of the conversation? The Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton types. Those are the people we need to get out of the conversation, because all they want to do is stir the pot. They don't want to fix anything that's broken. They're simply not interested in it. Those people who showed up in Ferguson and started firebombing and looting, they are not interested in race relationships. They are not interested in Michael Brown. They're not interested in this case of a New York City cop that ended up strangling a man to death in a chokehold. They're not interested in those people or their families. They don't care. Kind of like the Joker in the last Batman movies. They just want to see it all burn. And the same goes for the people who are showing up and protesting, because that's where I started this whole thing. Who are the protesters at this point? Well, most of the Ferguson protesters had gone home a long time. The legitimate protesters, the ones who think they have a legitimate beef, they went home a long time ago. Who do you see on the street right now? Occupy Wall Street, anarchists, and the communist movement, which I get a kick out of. I still get a kick out of. A lot of people that are claiming to be anarchists will also tell you that they're communists. I just don't. Those people are holding signs saying they want to end the police state, but they're also advocating for ending the police state by becoming communists. And they don't understand the problem with that. Communism is a police state. Did you not? Okay. Did you not study history at any point? All right. Just so you know. All right. I went for a walk around the building today and got blown back around the building today. Just so you know, I'm in Wyoming, and there's a lot of wind out here right now. And, man, the ice and the snow, we've got a little bit of both. which means muddy tracks all over the place, and that includes muddy and scoria all over the vehicles. So if you've got recreational vehicles, personal vehicles that take you to work, or vehicles for work, it doesn't matter. Fast and Furious Detailing serves all of Northeast Wyoming, and they'll take care of your vehicles inside and out this time of year.
Bold Republic.
Hey, what are you up to Monday night?
Monday night football at Jack's, buckets of beer, $10.
Well, that's awesome. Well, how about Tuesday?
$3, Jaeger shots at Jack's.
No, I mean, what are you doing on Tuesday night?
I told you, $3 Jaeger shots at Jack's.
Well, what about Wednesday?
Jack's has fireballs on sale.
You told me you were going to help me move my refrigerator. When aren't there specials?
Let's see, ladies' night Thursday night, and Cuervo shots on Friday, Saturday karaoke.
Okay, how about if I promise not to sing karaoke on Saturday?
Hey, what if we move your fridge to Jack's?
Hey.
Jack's Liquor and Bar, the Adult Daycare Center, 302 East 2nd Street in Gillette, across from Napa Auto Parts. Look for the refrigerator in the parking lot.
I'm Professor Burke from Farmers Insurance, and this is 30 Seconds of Smart. So you want discounts on your home insurance? Upgrade your roof. Upgrade your plumbing. Get a burglar alarm. Get a fire alarm. Combine policies with your spouse. Bundle your coverage. Quit smoking. And, of course, talk to farmers, because the more you know about home insurance, the more you can save.
We are farmers.
Get smarter about your insurance at farmers.com.
Stop by and see Lyle Austin, 201 West Lakeway Road in the Lakeway Professional Center, 686-5002. That's 686-5002.
To my darling wife and kids, I'm writing to you what might be the last thing I ever say. Trapped in the bathroom, you see. The toilet is clogged. If I open the door right now, it might be the end for us all. I think it might go all the way down the sewer line. Maybe the clog even goes to the septic. Well, I'm not sure if it needs to be cleared or pumped. Please call Roto-Rooter right now. They're the only qualified service in Northeast Wyoming. Just go find the card for Roto-Rooter under the magnet on the refrigerator. The guy's name is Brian. The phone number is 307-686-1573. If you don't get this note in time, I love you.
Ma'am, I pulled you over because you failed the signal on that last turn.
I used my turn signal, I swear.
Has this ever happened to you? Have you been ticketed for not using your turn signal, even though you have? Have you checked your blinker fluid lately? Well, how about you check your local auto parts dealer for OK Blinker Fluid, an indicator lamp lubricant. With OK Blinker Fluid, your turn signals will work bright and smooth. And while you're there, ask for other OK engine products. OK engine rotator splints, OK muffler bearings, OK piston turn springs to make sure your pistons turn smoothly, and OK hypertension headlight valves. OK products. For the person who knows nothing about their car, we have everything. OK Auto Products by Snake Oil.
This show runs on lots of cigars and lots of coffee. So it's sort of like a London fog look in the studio.
With that hyper-nervous feeling, as if Jack the Ripper was on the loose.
Creepy, but entertaining. It's Glenn Woods.
Hey, it's the Bold Republic Radio Show. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Phone number is 307-363-4093. That's 4093. Let me update you a little bit more and give you some more details about what happened in New York. Now, for those who are just joining me. So, back in July, some police officers in New York City were trying to arrest a rather big guy. And I only mention his race because it's important to the story, especially what's happening in Ferguson. So he's a big black man, big guy. And they were arrested. Of all things, they wanted to arrest him because they thought he was illegally selling cigarettes, of all the stupid crimes out there. But okay, that's what they decided to go after him for. He didn't want to go in. He didn't want to be arrested. He did not put up a fight, but he wasn't actually cooperating, not putting his hands behind his back and so on. So they started to take him slowly down. They were not beating on him. They were slowly taking him down. One police officer got him into a chokehold. This guy is so big, he suffers from a heart condition and asthma. And so he was basically choked out. He was saying, "I can't breathe," as he was taken to the ground. The police officer had him in the chokehold. No charges will be filed against him. After Ferguson, guess what that's going to mean for the race baiters out there? Now, to be fair about, and to give you as much information as we've got on the story, New York City Police Department prohibits chokeholds. And guess why? Yeah, this would be exactly why. He should have never been put in a chokehold in the first place. But okay, the death led to demonstrations around the city at the time, and then shortly afterward, the whole Ferguson, Missouri thing kicks into gear. From the story that's in front of me, parallels mark the deaths of both black men, Michael Brown and this gentleman here, starting with crimes they were suspected of, and then the story goes into what crimes they were suspected of. I'm going to review this one more time just so you can have a little bit of time to think about it. And in the next half hour of the program, I'll open up the phones for the rest of the program. I want you guys to have some time to think about this, because when I looked at this case, I thought we really need to take it on a case-by-case basis. So, first off, did either of these cases have anything to do with race? No. Michael Brown had just robbed a convenience store. He was being sought after for that. He was stoned at the time, and when the police officer confronted him, he attacked the police officer. That's why Michael Brown is dead. That had nothing to do with race. In this case, it is stupid to try to arrest someone because they were selling, of all things, cigarettes. Come on, police have better things to do. No, the police officer should not have used a chokehold. They're not allowed to use chokeholds in this case. If anything, can you charge a police officer with manslaughter? Which means it was not intentional. I don't see that any of the officers were trying to kill this guy. The whole thing was stupid. He should not have been selling cigarettes illegally. That shouldn't be a crime in the first place. The police officer should not have been using a chokehold. What am I leaving out here? I don't see that this has anything to do with race. But guess how it's going to be portrayed by the race baiters out there. Okay, and I really want to know, what do they expect to gain from race baiting? I still don't understand that. I don't understand what they're trying to gain from burning down stores, from blocking traffic. Changes what? All right, well, let's take a look at some of the signs of the protesters. This is why I say in the communities around the nation like Ferguson, when I look at the protesters, I see very few people that actually live in those communities. I see a lot of signs, professionally made, many of them, advocating for the Communist Party. I see those signs out there. But I really don't see many people who actually live in these neighborhoods who actually have something to say about this, and I don't see anyone actually fighting for a solution here, because this has nothing to do with race. But if it did, how does burning down your local convenience store settle the issue? So I don't understand. So here's your chance to look at this story, and I would say go to any website like CNN, go to Fox News if you want to go there as well. Go ahead and take a look at these stories and read them carefully, and then as we get past the second half hour of the program, after you've had a chance to think about it, I'll open up the phones and we'll have a chance to talk about all of this, okay? Racism, choked out to death because you were selling cigarettes in New York. Really? I think we have to look at that more than we have to look at the actions of the police officers. Why was it illegal to sell cigarettes in the city of New York? Is that what this guy died for?
Welcome to Coffee Cabana. Our special today is the popular Mocha Kappa. What can I blend for you today?
Cup of coffee, please.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, just a regular size coffee, please, that's all.
Oh, I guess I don't understand.
What part of that don't you understand?
Well, for one, we have several different sizes: petite, medio, alto, forte, muy grande, and crescendo.
All right. I just want a small cup of regular coffee. Please.
But
Okay, look. Point to the cup that's the smallest. Okay, there you go. That's the one.
Oh, okay, I see. And what would you like in that?
Coffee.
And?
Just coffee.
But we have syrups and powders and toppings and frappalapalatas.
Just coffee. Plain old coffee in a frickin' cup. Look, take the cup. Perfect. Now, hold it under the coffee spout. Good. Now, fill it up. There you go. Now, give it to me.
That's it?
Yes, that's all.
Well, how odd.
Whatever. How much?
$6.50, sir.
Sorry?
$6.50.
How is this little cup of coffee more expensive than a gallon of gasoline in my car? I didn't even add any frappa, lappa, mocha crap or whatever to it.
Well, sir, the beans are dried on solar panels.
Never mind.
And then we use wind power to generate. But we're green.
Look, I'll give you $20 if you don't say another word.
But,
nope. Dot. There you go. Good girl.
Might I suggest trading that for a decaf?
Did you hear? The government is giving away free guns. Yes, free guns. Gun manufacturers around the nation will be mandated to give every citizen a free gun with ammunition. As you know, the U.S. Constitution states that you have a right to bear arms. And since we've been told that anything that is a right, like health care, is given to you by the government for free, then that must mean that soon you'll be able to pick up your free gun. And since free contraceptives are also a right, then that means you get free bullets, too. Yes, right now the U.S. government is borrowing money from China and future generations and raising taxes on the mega wealthy just to make sure that you get your free gun guaranteed under the Constitution. Because now, anything that's a right in this country is given to you for free. Healthcare's a right, and you have the right to bear arms. It's your right. Have you ever heard of the American Automation Association? Oh, probably not. We're a company that produces high-quality automation systems, the kind that replace employees, thus saving corporations lots of money and increasing their personal profits. Now, no doubt you've seen some of our inventions every day. The self-serve automated checkout at the grocery store, thus saving money on checkout clerks. The self-serve gas pump, that was us too. No need for an attendant. The ATM machine at your local bank. Yup, that was us. And so many more gadgets that are behind the scenes that you may not even know about, like the automation machine at this very radio station that eliminates the need for a full-time employee to man the board. On behalf of the American Automation Association, we would like to thank the Democrat Party for pushing a minimum wage increase up to $15 an hour. Each time the minimum wage is increased, we at AAA get more business from companies looking to get rid of their lower wage employees and replace them with automation. A $15 an hour minimum wage increase would be a boom for our business. Also, thanks for heaping piles of rules and regulations on local companies as well, and taxes and Obamacare. Thanks to socialism, business and American automation is booming. It's the Bold Republic Radio Show. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Now, every day when I put together my website, I go through just piles of show prep. You have no idea how many websites I surf every single day. And I put them mostly on my Reading Assignment page, Daily Outrage page. One that is a must is when I go to FreedomWorks because, well, pretty much every single day there's an article from them that makes my reading assignment page. Now, today, the gentleman that I have on by video stream from the fine state of Georgia is named Jason Pyle, and you wrote an article, Jason, that has, well, I brought up this topic before, but the reason I asked you on is the details that you have in your article were details that I had not yet seen before, and also you put it together, kind of connected the dots in a way that I like. So apparently we're going to have a whole new labeling system now on some of our food products. What are they up to? This is FDA, right?
Yeah, it's the FDA, basically Section 4205 of the Affordable Care Act, which we know as Obamacare, delegated to the FDA food menu labeling requirements for both restaurants, grocery stores, convenience stores, and movie theaters, and they even take it so far as requiring vending machines to post the caloric information of the foods that are in, that they serve. Now they're like, it doesn't apply to smaller restaurants. It only applies to chains with 20 or more locations. So basically, your McDonald's, your Taco Bells, your Applebee's. If you actually, people out there actually eat Applebee's, I can't stand it. But those types of places are going to have to come up with these, going to have to comply with these regulations. And it's sort of odd, given that a lot of these restaurants have web presences with all this information already on there, but nevertheless, the nanny staters don't see it that way and want to push even more regulation on businesses.
Now, there's an interesting result with this. I remember reading an article in Reason magazine some time ago, and they looked at a restaurant who they had a computer screen up near where you go order, kind of fast food style. And on the computer screen was the nutrition information if you wanted to go there. And they found out that less than 1% of their customers ever even looked at that information, had no interest in it. And even then, they only looked at it because they were in line and they were bored and they wanted something to read. So does anybody ever look at this stuff?
No, nobody really ever looks at it. I worked at just out of high school, I worked at a Chick-fil-A in the Atlanta area, and we had those nutrition pamphlets available for customers to use. Nobody ever used them. I mean, I think there was one time where a customer had asked for one. It was such a rare occasion, they actually had to go back into the back office where the manager usually does his business and fish them out under a stack of papers. So
the manager is what you're trying to say. But anyway, go ahead.
But nobody ever asks for them. I mean, and the only type of calorie information I ever see anywhere are the low calorie options that restaurants already have presented for customers who are interested in more healthy options to look at. I mean, let's face it, if you buy a Big Mac, you're going to be putting on calories and carbs that your body probably doesn't need. I mean, yeah. And if you go with a sirloin steak or some sort of light chicken dish, you're probably going to be eating a healthier meal. It really isn't like that complex of an issue when it's all said and done, but again, this is the government.
Well, now, you found some interesting information, though, those places that post these calorie counts and other nutritional information. What's been the result?
Well, there was a study in New York City by Yale and New York City University researchers a few years back that the New York City had enacted its own scheme in 2008. It found that by camping out at restaurants and surveying well over 1,000 people, that the caloric intake of people who were visiting these restaurants actually increased despite having all the information posted everywhere for them to see. It actually increased. People ate more unhealthy food.
So maybe we should just have like a nanny stater with a ruler, like a nun, and they could dress as a nun for all I care. And whenever you go to order something fat, they just smack you with the ruler. But there's another part to this, and I didn't get too far into your article to see if you had touched on this. I found one time, I think this was Reason Foundation, but they covered the cost of compliance, because once again, with many restaurants, they have to, every time they change even the mayonnaise, anything, that means they have to redo the whole menu.
Yeah, no, the FDA did in their rule submission did state that the cost of two affected industries over the next 20 years is going to be $1.7 billion. Now, keep in mind that government agencies tend to produce conservative estimates, so it's likely going to be a lot more than that. In fact, the Food Marketing Institute, which kind of advocates for grocery stores, they say it's going to cost $1 billion in the first year alone. and then including annual.
So also this, they're going to argue, oh, but the savings in the hospital because of all of the heart disease. But you've already mentioned in your article that's not possible because apparently calorie counts on the menu make you fatter.
Yeah, I mean nobody. Like I said, when you go to a restaurant, when you go to McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, whatever it may be, if you're going to a fast food restaurant, you're planning on eating unhealthy. Nobody goes to McDonald's for a salad. And if you do, I question your food choices. But I mean, you can go to more upscale or more pricey middle of the road restaurants that are sit down, as opposed to fast food. But when you go to one of those places, you're getting what you pay for, and what you're paying for is fatty, high-calorie food. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. You order a Baconator, that's about 1,500 calories, and you're putting that in your body.
The part that I continue to hit on every time I talk about this as a topic is we now have a fourth branch of government that's allowed to make law, and that is bureaucracy, because Congress writes an outline and hands it to the bureaucracy, in this case the FDA, and says, here, make this happen, and you guys write the rules to make this happen. So are these new menu labels because you have a bunch of bureaucrats sitting around writing rules and nothing was voted on?
Well, I mean, that's it in some respects. Over the last several decades, we have seen rule by regulatory fiat or executive fiat, whatever you want to call it, and Congress has been derelict in their duty to keep these executive agencies in check. It's not just a presidential power problem. It's Congress is just falling down on the job. As far as it goes, I mean, Congress, there's very little Congress can do, and what they can do is vote on a resolution of disapproval to disapprove of these regulations. President Barack Obama would probably veto it, and whether or not they could get the votes to override the veto would be up in the air. But there are some members of Congress, bipartisan in fact, that are trying to undo these regulations. Whether they can or not remains to be seen. But ultimately the problem isn't just menu labeling, it's just executive power in general, and Congress failing to assert itself in the process.
All right, Jason Bai is a contributor with FreedomWorks. I found there's a whole web page on FreedomWorks of your works. Where do they find you? Where do they find FreedomWorks?
FreedomWorks.org, and you can find me on Twitter at JaceLiberty.
Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Here at Don's Supermarket, we do all we can to make your grocery shopping experience perfect. We make sure that the third wheel on our shopping carts are just so. Up aisle 2 is Luann with all the latest gossip. She knows everything that's going on around town, and she can't wait to tell you.
Sally's husband
We hired a guy for the meat market named Sam. I mean, of course we did. Meat? Sam? Come on. Our cashiers are the sweetest girls you've ever met. Fast at the register, and even faster when someone pulls up to the 10-item express line with 50 items. And on aisle 3, there's the 300-pound man wearing a Batman costume.
I'm Batman.
Why? Well, I mean, why not? Add to that our fresh fruit, weekly specials on what your family likes to eat, and you get the best family-friendly shopping experience a grocery store can provide, and prices you can afford. Don's Supermarket, 1501 West 2nd Street, Gillette, across from Value Villa.
You know, when it comes to feeding your animals, some brand names just stand out above the rest. That's why Thar's Feed and Ranch Supplies carries names like Purina and Hubbard and many other quality brand names that you know and trust. That's why Thar's Feed and Ranch Supply is another name that you can trust when it comes to taking care of your animals. In Gillette, Wyoming, 100 South Burma Road, 682-9501.
This December, induct your loved one into the 1% Club. This is Bruce at Marshall Jewelry, and fewer than 1% of all the women in the world own a diamond of a carat or more. That's how special, exclusive, and rare a diamond that size is. We have a great selection of diamonds of all sizes. Our 1-carat solitaire start at under $3,000. While you're in, sign up for the Santa Dice Roll. We'll draw 8 people to roll each day, December 2nd through December 20th. Spell Santa with the dice and win a $50,000 shopping spree. Marshall Jewelry, where she'll love it, guaranteed.
Hello?
It's your roommate.
Yeah, funny. I don't have a roommate.
Hi.
Where are you going? You can't just barge in here.
Why not? We share this apartment.
We what?
Well, the government might have given you this place, but I'm the one paying for it.
You are? Yeah, how do you figure that?
Ma'am, Allow me to introduce myself. I'm a taxpayer.
You are? Wow. I've heard of you people, but I don't think I've ever met one before.
Oh, no, ma'am. We're just a small percentage of the population, but we pay most of the taxes.
So you're the one paying for all this stuff?
Yes, ma'am. I pay for your house, your food.
Electricity, my cell phone, my car, my gas?
That's why I'm here.
I still don't understand.
Well, you see, I pay so much in taxes, I can't afford any of this stuff myself. They've given it all to you. So I guess we're just gonna have to share.
Well, but...
Look, where are the car keys?
Oh, no. I just bought that car.
No, ma'am. We bought that car, and I have to get to work so we can keep paying for all of this.
Oh, right. Over there on the counter.
See you at dinner. Oh, and since I'm paying for all this, I'm taking the master bedroom.
Oh.
What's a good cup of coffee if you can't spit it across the dashboard now and then, right? Oh, yeah, and ruin a good work shirt. Sure, burn the hell out of your inner thighs. We know what you need, though, in a radio program.
Irreverent but honest, and tastefully tacky. It's Glenn Woods.
All right, that interview, yes, it was sort of in the middle of our discussion, but I had set it up a while ago and didn't want to interrupt this. Let's get back to the lead topic of the day, and this was breaking before I was on the air today. Now, at this point, it is open phones. I've given you a chance to think about it, so maybe the interview was a good place. It was a good place to put that. You've had a chance to think about this now and what your answer is. 307-363-4093 is the phone number. That's 307-363-4093. Here's the headline. We're going to go to New York City. Eric Garner chokehold death. No indictment for the New York Police Department cop in this case. Here's this, and it is all over. If you go to Fox News right now, it's there. CNN, it's right there. Pick your news outlet. It's not. Why is it top news now? Well, because of Ferguson, obviously. So we're going to have to take this on a case-by-case basis, and I'm not going to be dragged in by the race mongers. Staten Island, here's a story from Fox. Staten Island grand jury decided Wednesday to indict a white New York City police officer with the July chokehold of an unarmed black man. Police officer, 29-year-old, 8-year veteran of the force, faces possible charges. Now, this one says 2. And I described the whole situation to you. Now, the last story, and let me make sure I got this right, because another story says not 2. Interesting. Okay. So I got to see which story, because I have one story here that says they're going to indict, another story says they're not. Well, now this one says no indictment. Okay. Okay, it does say no indictment. Just want to make sure. There is a typo in the story here. They decided not to indict. That's how this is going. There's a typo in the story because the headline says they're not going to indict him. The police officer, 29 years old, with the force, was facing possible charges of the July 17th death of Eric Garner, who was stopped on suspicious of selling loose cigarettes, as they said. So in other words, he buys some cigarettes, he pulls some out of the pack, he's selling individual cigarettes. I don't see why that's a crime in New York, but it is. It took several police officers to take this guy down. I'm sure the police officers have better things to do with their time than try to take a guy down with a chokehold for selling loose cigarettes. That's what I have a problem with. I don't see this as a racial issue. The family's filed a notice that it plans to sue the city for $75 million on the grounds of wrongful death, pre-death pain and suffering, civil rights violations. See, there's where I have a problem. I don't see the civil rights violations here. As far as race is concerned, you understand what I'm saying? New York Post has reported here we go. Here comes the race baiter. Reverend Al Sharpton is already on the scene for this. The Reverend Al Sharpton is already there. He's been talking about this. Hang on.
Lack of transparency is a huge political advantage. And basically, call it the stupidity of the American voter or whatever. But basically, that was really, really critical to getting the thing to pass.
False
this would be a gas if this law would be passed, but thankfully they are so dumb. Sure, our team can't build a website in 3 years, but they're the ones who are so dumb.
So what's the strategy?
Don't tell them, don't tell them, you ain't even, don't tell them, don't tell them, you ain't even gotta tell them, don't tell them, don't tell them, you ain't even, don't tell them, don't tell them, you ain't even gotta tell them, don't tell them, don't tell them. It'll bring prices down with it, you have to plan to stick around with it. Oh, you know I'm from Chicago, maybe they get a clown with it. Don't let me catch you snoring, making government figure is never boring. My CBO strategy's named Bill Cosby, cause we're looking for an improper story. When folks ask what's in it, you lie through the tooth. Why? Our ideas are so good we can't tell the truth. That's right. But won't people read it in 3 years or so? My. Who'd look inside something that many years old?
Uh-oh.
Don't tell them, you ain't even, don't tell them, don't tell them, you ain't even gotta tell them, don't tell them, don't tell them, you ain't even, don't tell them, don't tell them, you ain't even.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
No, Glenn, it doesn't matter if you're part owner of the company. No cigars in the studio. Oh, what is that smell? Put your shoes back on. I don't want to smell that. Look, if you want good talent, you have to put up with some bad habits. Let's get back in there with the original Bad Habit Boy, Glenn Woods.
It's the Bold Republic Radio Show. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Phone number is 307-363-4093. That's 307-363-4093. And right now, I'm talking about the new case, well, the new decision in New York City not to indict a police officer in the choking death of a black man. And when I say it that way, I mean, if I were to just say to you, hey, a white police officer in New York choked a black man to death. Sounds pretty bad, right? Until you put everything into the mix and take a look at what really happened. I'm going to review it one more time for you, and you tell me what you think. All right, so we have a police officer who approaches a man who's selling cigarettes one at a time. I don't see why are they wasting police time with that? I don't know. He refuses to be taken in. He's a big guy. It takes several police officers to bring him to the ground. He wasn't fighting back, but he wasn't cooperating either. They used a chokehold, which the police are not allowed to use. I don't see how this is race. The man died. Now, yes, Al Sharpton is already on the scene. By the way, the grand jury, 8 members of the grand jury were black as well. So I still don't see how race enters the picture when it was unanimous. They don't see why or how there's any evidence of race in this, or that the police officer intentionally was trying to kill this man. Duff is on the phone. Hi, Duff. What you got for me?
Hey, dude, I'm just now starting to realize the poignancy of a 5-second delay. That's a long time, dude.
That can be, yeah. Right. It makes a lot of sense, but you got to be careful,
you're listening. You prompted me in when it said, Al Sharpton is in place. And I go, no, dude, I'm not Al Sharpton.
No, you're not. Okay, so anyway, what's your opinion on this?
Quick thoughts on your 2 things there. Number one, you were talking about the riot and burning buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
The reason that white guys don't do that is as I summed up my inner bigot, is we're too busy working for a living and helping other people out and stop and plan a riot and a burning ceremony.
Right.
So we don't feel it's worth our time. That's why we don't do it.
Okay.
As far as the New York deal goes, you were talking about you're hurting me and I can't breathe.
Yeah.
I've been on both sides of that issue, and for the most part, it's usually bogus.
Okay.
I've been being choked out, and that's my words too. You're hurting me. I can't breathe.
Okay. Well, now,
and I've been on the other side listening to them say the same thing to me.
well, and in looking at the procedures for New York City Police, that officer was never allowed to use a chokehold in the first place. He's not supposed to be doing that. So I wonder, there should be some disciplinary actions for using essentially an illegal move.
Yeah, you're right. I know New York City and Philadelphia, and I think even Chicago now has a no chokehold deal. That an officer is not supposed to use anything that constitutes a chokehold. But again, in the heat of battle, as it were,
yeah,
you don't always stop and remember all the rules and regulations.
That's true.
I'm not making excuses. I'm just stating facts.
That's true.
When you're up against a gun and you're trying to subdue a suspect, you do whatever you need to do. And like you said, whether it was real or not, that's a pretty big boy that they was putting down on the ground.
Oh, yeah, he's a big fella, yeah. And they were those police officers, he towered over them. And again, they didn't try to beat him up. They were just pulling him down to the ground when you watch the video. And I guess the chokehold was part of that. Duff, I still go back to, really, you're going to take, it looked like 4 or 5 police officers, I'd have to go back to watch exactly how many, over maybe this guy was selling individual cigarettes to make a few extra bucks. Really? That's what this was all about?
Yeah.
All right, they just need to repeal that law in New York City. We'll start with that. All right, thanks for calling in, Duff. I appreciate you hanging on. 307-363-4093 is the phone number. That's 307-363-4093. All right, so Al Sharpton, of course, wants to take this to the federal level. That's what he's telling the family to do. I think the worst thing the family can do in this case, I know they're upset, don't go to Al Sharpton for advice. Just start with that. So the grand jury, which consisted of 15 whites and 8 minorities, concluded there was not enough evidence to indict the police officer, who faced charges ranging from murder to a lesser offense such as reckless endangerment. He has been stripped of his gun and badge and placed on desk duty while the case is under investigation, and is likely to remain on modified duty while the police department conducts an internal investigation. And the only thing I can say about the police officer is, while I do agree with Duff, when you're in the heat of the moment, you tend to do things that you're not supposed to do. He knows he's not supposed to apply chokehold. So while details on the grand jurors are not disclosed, Staten Island is the most politically conservative of the city's 5 boroughs, and that is not saying much. Well, we're talking New York City here. In anticipation of the announcement on the grand jury decision, police officials met with community leaders on Staten Island to head off a repeat of Ferguson, Missouri. Now, as far as I'm concerned, a repeat of Ferguson, Missouri means the race baiters show up and stir the pot. That's what that means to me. The race baiters show up and make something that is not a racial issue. They make it a racial issue and stir the pot. And I still would like to know what they intend to accomplish with it. I don't see how this accomplishes anything. How does burning down your local convenience store accomplish a thing?
Hi, I'm John Green. Welcome Welcome to my salon. This is Mental Floss on YouTube. And did you know that one single, possibly misinterpreted Japanese word may have influenced the decision to drop atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki? The Japanese premier Kentaro Suzuki used the word mokusatsu when reporters asked him about the Potsdam Declaration. He probably meant no comment, but the word has multiple meanings, and many translated it to mean we're ignoring the declaration. That's how it was reported, and soon the atomic bombs were dropped. And that's the first of many little things that changed the course of history that I'm going to share with you today in this video brought to you by Geico. The Roman Emperor Constantine, who ruled from 306 to 337 AD, claimed to have seen a cross of light in the sky before a battle, and some geologists believe that Constantine actually saw a meteor, making that meteor responsible for the spread of Christianity. Speaking of space, in 1999, NASA lost communication with a Mars rover they'd launched about a year earlier because one team working on the mission worked in metric units and the other used English units. This cost NASA about $125 million. They should have just used our spaceship. It costs like $10. Every middle schooler's favorite planet, Uranus, might have had a different name. It was discovered by William Herschel, and some astronomers thought it should be named after him, but eventually it was named for the father of Saturn. The crew of the Titanic wasn't using binoculars, which would have helped them spot the iceberg. Apparently, David Blair was given the job of second officer on the boat, but he was replaced, and when he left the ship, he took the key to his locker, which contained the binoculars. The ship's lookout later said that with those binoculars, they would have seen the iceberg soon enough to get out of the way. In 1961, John F. Kennedy sent 6 American B-26s to the Bay of Pigs to help out with the Bay of Pigs invasion of Cuba. They ended up showing up an hour late and were shot down. Most historians believe that they were confused by the shift in time zone. Many historians also believe that the American Civil War could have been a short conflict rather than a 4-year-long one if it hadn't been for one man, James Wolfe Ripley. Ripley was a general in the Union Army who delayed the Army's purchase of modern rifles, so for a long time they were fighting against Confederates who had modern guns that they'd purchased from overseas. In 2003, the largest wildfire in California's history, the Cedar Fire, was caused by one person who got lost while hunting in West Covina and started the fire to be rescued. Johann Rall fought against General George Washington in the Revolutionary War, and there's a story that he was warned about Washington crossing the Delaware River into Trenton while he was playing chess or cards, so the warning was given via note, which he put in his pocket and then forgot about because he was so distracted by his game. George Washington getting his face onto Mount Rushmore by not playing chess. Going back a little further in history, the Turks were able to easily capture Constantinople, thus leading to the Ottoman Empire, for a simple reason: someone accidentally left the gate open. And that was historically important because it eventually led to Constantinople being renamed Istanbul, which in turn led to They Might Be Giants' only top 40 hit. In 1944, Field Marshal Erwin Rommel went on leave so he could return to Germany for his wife's birthday, which made it a little bit easier for the Allies to land in Normandy on D-Day. Bill Clinton had the option to kill Osama bin Laden in 1998, 13 years before bin Laden was actually killed, but Clinton opted not to because 300 innocent civilians would also have died. In 1816, physician René Laennec invented the stethoscope on the spot because he was examining a woman and felt uncomfortable pressing his ear to her chest, so he created a simple paper tube and then later put together a real stethoscope. Many historians believe that Napoleon lost the Battle of Waterloo because he was distracted by his bleeding hemorrhoids, which never would have even happened. I mean, the Battle of Waterloo, not the bleeding hemorrhoids, which were probably inevitable. But anyway, it wouldn't have happened if Napoleon weren't French, and he almost wasn't. The island he was from, Corsica, only became a French island 3 months before he was born. Okay, last Napoleon fact. In 1802, General Charles Leclerc was working for Napoleon to suppress the rebellion in Haiti, but the majority of the army, including Leclerc, got yellow fever, a mosquito-borne illness, and only a few thousand of the 50,000 French soldiers lived, and that's a major reason why Napoleon abandoned the New World, which is a big deal for Haiti, but also for the United States, because he sold us the Louisiana Purchase. In 1972, security guard Frank Wills noticed that somebody in the Watergate office building had put duct tape over a door lock to keep it open. He removed it, but it reappeared within 30 minutes, so he called the police, and thus the Watergate burglars were busted. For this, by the way, Wills received a raise of $2.50 per week, but he got to decide who the next president was. So if you're a huge Gerald Ford fan like myself, he was only president because of Frank Wills. Now, this isn't confirmed, but many historians believe that Robert Clive tried to commit suicide when he was 19 years old, but he lived and went on to establish the East India Company in Bengal. In 1933, Giuseppe Zangara attempted to assassinate FDR, who was giving a speech. Zangara was a shorter man, so he had to stand on a chair, which started to wobble. He shot 5 times, and he missed FDR all 5 times. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in 1914, of course, sparked World War I, and it was only made possible when Ferdinand's driver took a wrong turn right in front of Gavrilo Princip, who then shot at the car.
I can take steps without legislation. That's what I'm going to do.
No government ever voluntarily reduces itself in size.
Nobody is listening to your telephones.
No government ever voluntarily reduces itself in size. So government programs once launched never disappear. Actually, a government bureau is the nearest thing to eternal life we'll ever see on this earth. These proliferating bureaus with their thousands of regulations have cost us many of our constitutional safeguards.
The IRS's targeting of Tea Party and conservative groups came from Washington. If someone did this for political reasons, they should be fired.
I'd like to talk to you about abuse of power.
On the advice, I exercise my Fifth Amendment right and decline to answer that question.
No mass corruption. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Elian Gonzalez has lost his appeal to try to keep him in the United States.
He was not taken at the point of a gun.
We have a photograph showing that he was taken at the point of a gun.
How many of us realize that today federal agents can invade a man's property without a warrant? They can impose a fine without a formal hearing, let alone a trial by jury, and they can seize and sell his property at auction to enforce the payment of that fine. Our natural unalienable rights are now considered to be a dispensation of government.
And will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
Here comes another hour of insensitivity training with Glenn Woods.
Hey, it's the Bold Republic Radio Show. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Telephone number 307-363-4093. I've dived deeply into open phones now, so you can change the subject if you want. By the way, according to more people in the federal government, you're just a bunch of idiots and you don't know what you're talking about. Don't look at me. I didn't say it. Now it's Kathleen Sebelius. Remember Jonathan Gruber? Remember? Well, I'm never going to let you forget him, all right? Gruber's the guy who said, call it the stupidity of the American voter, and now that's why we have Obamacare now. All right. So now, former head of Health and Human Services, Kathleen Sebelius, who is in large part responsible for Obamacare being 9 feet tall when printed out. That Kathleen Sebelius. Okay. So she was being asked about what Gruber's comments were, because you just didn't know the stupidity of the American voter, and okay. And she did say this much. Most people, and you're going to be shocked by this, I'm going to agree with her. Ugh. Most people really don't know a whole lot about how health insurance works or is supposed to work. I agree with her, but I don't. No, this is not I voted for it before I voted against it. That's not what I'm talking about. No. I agree with that statement, but not for the reasons that she said it. See, Kathleen Sebelius believes that when it comes to health insurance, everything is supposed to be covered. Everything is. Well, we've had this conversation before. What's supposed to be covered in your health insurance? Everything? When you go to insure your car, do you have running low on gas insurance? So every time you buy new gasoline for your car, you have to swipe a card that goes through your insurance company and ask, you got to fill out paperwork with the insurance company to buy new gasoline? Do you have changing oil insurance for oil changes? Well, do you have running low on windshield wiper fluid insurance? Do you have blinker fluid insurance? Because, blinker fluids, can't run low on that, right? Do you have insurance for every little thing on your car? I bet you don't. I bet you only insure your car against catastrophic events. Because if you tried to insure everything, how expensive would that be? And yet, They want you to insure every little thing, right down from ear infections to birth control. Everything's supposed to be covered by your insurance because, well, it's cheaper that way, right? No, it's not cheaper that way. That's why your premiums are outrageous. So when Kathleen Sebelius says, well, the American people really don't understand how health insurance is supposed to work, well, Kathleen, neither do you. It's not supposed to cover every little thing. That's why it's so expensive. You pay for things out of pocket as often as you can, and you only use health insurance when you absolutely need it. Now, the story in front of me is from the D.C. Caller. It reads, in an interview in which she tries to distance herself from Jonathan Gruber's remarks about Obamacare and how it was crafted, former Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius sounded a lot like the MIT economist. This, by the way, this also gives you an idea how those people in government think of you. Many of them just think that you're an incompetent boob and you need them. Without them, you couldn't possibly... Well, how did we exist as a species before government came along, right? We had to have them taking care of us every step of the way, right? She says, I think one of the things that we have learned with the passage of the law, Obamacare, is a lot of Americans have no idea what insurance is all about. Sebelius, of course, again, Health and Human Services. Customers, she says, has no idea, even if they have coverage, what it means and what a deductible is, what a copay is, and how to choose a network, she says. These are complicated terms. There's part of the problem. It's not supposed to be complicated. Look, I have a general rule. If something is so complicated that I go cross-eyed trying to read the fine print, I'm not going to do it. It needs to be easy. Not because I'm a simpleton, but because when something gets complicated, it gets screwed up. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. That includes your health care. Now, she makes these comments, but again, she's in large part responsible for making Obamacare 9 feet tall when printed out. She says, I think the financial literacy of a lot of people, particularly people who did not have insurance coverage or whose employers chose their coverage and kind of presented it to them, is very low, said Sebelius. So you're a low information, not voter in this case, but consumer of insurance. And she says that has been sort of a stunning revelation. And it's not because anybody hid it from folks. In part, she says it's a complicated product. Okay, now, here again, I agree and disagree with her. She has got a point. A lot of you folks out there, I'm not saying that you're stupid, but when it comes to your health insurance, do you even know what's covered? Do you know what's in your policy? You know why most of you don't know? Is because if I were to hand your policy to you, it's kind of thick, covers a lot of details, and it's written in some kind of legal language that's difficult for most people to understand, so you just kind of throw your hands up and you go, I have no idea what to do with this. So if I ever need it, I guess I'll read it. I'm sorry, but that's how a lot of people handle their health insurance, and in that part, I actually agree with her there. So here's my answer for it, because I like to find solutions for problems. Unfortunately, it's hard to do this with what they call the Affordable Care Act, but here's your answer. Ready for this? It's just so simple. Here's how you do it. You have a few basic things covered by insurance under a health insurance plan that when you look at it, it's on a simple piece of paper and you understand what you're covered for. It's written in plain English. If somebody tries to hand you a contract that's written in difficult legalese, don't even bother. They're trying to put one over on you. Push it aside. Contracts should be simple, easy to read, just like laws should be simple and easy to read. So when Kathleen Sebelius, again, in large part wrote Obamacare, making it from 1,500 pages, or is it 1,700 pages, to 9 feet tall, and she says, well, it's kind of complicated to understand. Hey, Kathleen, you made it complicated. You made it difficult for the American people to understand. Now, in citing the public's low financial literacy, Sebelius sounded like Gruber. And I've already told you all about that speech. So you understand, she has a few points, but on the other hand, I'm not going to sit here and say that you folks are stupid. Other than we keep electing the same people over and over again. That's kind of stupid. None of this should ever be complicated. Your health care should not be complicated. Okay, just like the insurance policy on your car should be easy to read and understand. And if it isn't, I would get with another insurance company. If they hand you a piece of paper that's a big piece of paper, they hand you a booklet for your car insurance or health insurance, and it's pages long. I mean, page after page after page, written in complicated legalese. Just get rid of it. In most cases, they write it that way so you can't understand what's going on. As soon as the lawyers get involved, they write it in a way, and who are most people in government anyway, especially in politics? They're lawyers. They write things in legalese. They write it complicated. What you want to do is uncomplicate your life. That's why I tell you, when it comes to your health insurance, one of the best things that you can possibly do is pay in cash as often as possible, because there is no fine print in that. Here's how this works. See if you can understand this, because I think everybody can. Your doctor tells you this is what's wrong. Now, here's what you need to do to get better. Got it? And you nod your head. Yep, that makes complete sense. Okay, that will be, and he tells you how much he's going to charge you for checking you out and telling you what's wrong and then telling you what to do about it. There's a fee for that. So he's going to tell you how much. So you understand that. You understand the bill, right? Anything complicated yet? Fine. Go up to the front desk, reach into your wallet, pull out cash or your checkbook, and hand the money to the girl at the front desk. Now, is there anything at all confusing about that? Anything you don't understand? There. That's how you handle your health coverage. And by the way, it doesn't get any cheaper than that. That's as inexpensive as it gets. We run into a problem when you get not just the insurance companies who, let's face it, want to pay out as few claims as possible. But when we get the politicians and the bureaucrats in there, and the first thing they do is they look at you and say, well, it's complicated. Who made it complicated? Exactly. The politicians and the bureaucrats did. That's who made it complicated. Your job as an individual, make it uncomplicated. You start by getting out of their system and creating your own, one that makes complete sense to you and works for you. It's called being an individual. It works a whole lot better. Being part of the collective never works. Okay, wind is blowing out there. It's howling. It's getting cold again. And once again, the ice fishermen they're already starting to look at their gear. I kind of get a kick out of watching ice fishermen. I don't know why you guys like doing that, but okay, you have a good time out there. You get out there with your coolers full of food. But, well, you bring a cooler. I kind of wonder about that. When I see ice fishermen and they brought a cooler, isn't it already cold out there? What's the cooler for? Okay, but I've seen a lot of ice fishermen with coolers. Whatever gear you need, there's one place you can get it all, one-stop shopping. They know exactly what to do. They know exactly how to speak your language, ice fisherman language. I have no idea what that sounds like. Rocky Mountain Discount Sports, 5 locations in Wyoming, and that includes Casper and Gillette.
This is Bruce at Marshall Jewelry in Gillette. How would you like to win a $50,000 shopping spree at Marshall Jewelry? We're going to give almost 150 people that chance. Here's how it works. Each day, beginning December 2nd until December 20th, we'll draw 8 names from the previous day's entries. We'll call and you have 5 days to come in and roll our special Santa dice. If one of your 2 rolls spells out Santa, then you win a $50,000 shopping spree at Marshall Jewelry. See store for details. Marshall Jewelry, where she'll love it, guaranteed.
Are you looking for some hay? Check out the large variety at Thar's Feed and Ranch Supply. They really know their stuff. And no matter what your needs are, Thar's can fill it. And at reasonable prices, too. Ask the experts at Thar's and they'll help you keep your animals healthy. Thar's Feed and Ranch Supply, Gillette, Wyoming, 100 South Burma Road, 682-9501.
TV on. Buckets of beer.
Poured.
Pizza hot and ready to go. Various other munchies.
Ready.
Friends stoked and ready. This football season, there's no need to miss a game if you're near Gillette. Join your friends at Pat's Liquor, where there's always drink specials and free food during the game. Pat's Liquor, Highway 59 in Gillette. Pat's Liquor, where you don't have to be Irish to get lucky, but it doesn't hurt.
Parents, would you like a fun, safe, and affordable environment for your children to do their holiday shopping? If so, please join us Sunday, December 7th from 10 to 4 at the American Legion Hall, located on Rockpile Boulevard. Over a dozen vendors will have gifts for $10 or less and will provide free gift wrapping. Parents, sit back and relax with a cup of coffee while the kids shop. Don't forget our kids shopping event, Sunday, December 7th, 10 to 4 at the American Legion Hall.
We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
Hear that? That's the sound of a founding father rolling in his grave. Spinning so fast it can actually turn one of our massive state-of-the-art turbine generators. That's a lot of energy. Free energy if we could only tap into it. Here at Founding Fathers Electric, we've found how to do just that. Each time a liberal speaks, a founding father spins in his grave.
What difference at this point does it make?
About 1.21 gigawatts of difference, Hillary. Spinning a turbine that powers America. A State of the Union address alone can keep the Northeast warm and toasty through the harshest polar vortex. One Pelosi quote.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Thank God for surge protectors. Since Ben Franklin was one of the first to experiment with electricity, he was one of the first we plugged in. Coming online soon on the East Coast, our 600-megawatt Jefferson generator. So close to Washington, D.C., it will be able to power most of the East Coast. Founding Fathers Electric, turning filthy liberal lies into electricity since 1933.
Come on, don't act like you don't know how this works. Glenn sits in a padded room, talks to himself, and guess what? You're the voices in his head. It's really creepy, but it works. Let's get back in there. Glenn Woods is back on the air.
So yesterday we passed a milestone, and I'm really surprised I did not hear a whole lot about it, but essentially we passed the $18 trillion mark in the national debt. What I was mostly going on about yesterday, what I was mostly in on, we pass over $18 trillion that we owe, and by the way, the national debt's actually a lot higher than that, but let's just take the 18, well, it's about 115 trillion. But we'll take the unfunded liabilities and so on. We'll take the 18 trillion, right? We'll just take a look at that. We passed that milestone. Where's all the major news networks on it? Where's all the hubbub? Seriously. I thought that would be a big deal. No. And Congress, well, the new Congress coming in promises to do something about it. I would suggest not holding your breath on that one, considering both Democrats and Republicans have done nothing but increase the national debt, and they squeal at cutting $100 million over 10 years. So I looked at it and thought, okay, if we have $18 trillion in debt, let's take a look at some of what that bought us. Now, understand there are some things that your government does which it should be doing. National defense, absolutely. We need a military to protect our borders. I mean, we can look at some things and say, no, we need to do that. But let's take a look at some of the other things that money went to. Now that we're $18 trillion in debt, Uncle Sam looking for romance on the web. That was near $1 million right there. Now this adds up, by the way. You want into billion? Let me give you billions. Mass destruction of weapons of mass destruction, $7 billion. Well, as the war effort in the Middle East winds to a close, and I don't really mean WND, there was all sorts of military equipment that we had for the war. So you know what you do when you get to the end of a war and you have a lot of leftover military equipment? Well, you just get rid of it, right? Yeah. Todd is sent in on the video stream. It's kind of like the Titanic and the band played on. That's exactly right. I mean, no big deal here. We're just going to continue to spend the money. Millions of spending promoting an insurance plan few want on a website that doesn't work. Guess what I'm talking about? Yeah, the Obamacare website. By the way, that almost cost us $1 billion before they finally got it working. What got me was there was no warranty on the Obamacare side. How do you do that? How do you not have a warranty on a website that's costing you hundreds? It shouldn't have cost you hundreds of millions of dollars in the first place. But the fact that it did, and then when it didn't work, you didn't have a warranty on it, you had to spend more to fix it. Way to go, guys. You can't even do that, but I'm supposed to trust you with my health care. Let me see. Government study to find out how wives should calm down. But, yeah, they actually spent a lot of money on that. And then, by the way, they didn't find out anything. So do you know why we have things like bars across America, golf courses, stuff like that? It's where men go to wait for the wife to calm down. It's as simple as that. So, okay. No, I don't have to worry about that. I'm not going home to anybody. I can go ahead and say it. You guys just laughed out loud. I hope there were no women around when you laughed at that. But that's part of what your $18 trillion went for. Let me see. $18 trillion NASA search for signs of intelligent life in Congress. No, didn't find it. Hurricane Sandy emergency on TV ads. Okay, here's what I mean by this. We have Hurricane Sandy, which, by the way, they keep calling Superstorm Sandy. It was not a superstorm. There was nothing super about that hurricane. Yes, it caused a lot of damage. It was not a super-sized storm. There was nothing super about it. But Hurricane Sandy, so they're going to give a bunch of money to help people rebuild, right? Okay. And we can debate whether they should have done that or not. But now they have to take out television ads to tell people that all of this money is available. How much money did they spend on that? $65 million. $18 trillion in debt. They can't find out how to save money, how to cut even $100 million over 10 years. $18 trillion in debt. Federally funded solar panels covered Boston airport area. Glare blinds birds and pilots. They had to take it down. $3.5 million. Oh, by the way, there's a lie going out there right now. The left has decided just to lie about a lot of things. An article popped up recently by some lefty organization that the group Solyndra, the solar panel company Solyndra, is now making a huge profit and doing just fine. It's a complete lie. Solyndra went bankrupt, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Let's see. NASA's Little Green Man Project. Oh, that was expensive, too. I got a whole list of this thing. This is from Tom Colburn's site here, but let me see. How about other government waste? Let's break this down. We can talk about government projects that waste a lot of money. But let's talk about some of the other details that you don't often hear about. Now, remember, we're past a milestone now. $18 trillion in debt. Okay. How about $76 million to round up wild horses? $7.8 million on Department of Interior conferences. $10,000 on a Department of Justice pizza party. That must have been a hell of a pizza party. $10,000 on a Department of Justice pizza party. Wow. Aren't you sorry you missed that pizza party? $11 million. Well, you paid for it. You should have been invited to it. $11 million on luxury private jets for Department of Justice appointees. $100 million on Department of Justice conferences. $1.5 million for Hollywood TV shows. Now, your government gave $1.5 million. Doesn't Hollywood have enough money to make TV shows? $165 million unused prisons. Wow, we have $160 million going to unused prisons. I never saw that coming. We're over $18 trillion in debt. I just want you to know where some of the money's been going. $3 million to boost bike clubs for those people who like to ride your bike. $3 million in taxpayer money to lobby for a tax. Did you know about that? $3 million went to lobby for a soda tax. I didn't know they spent money on lobbying like that for a tax. Well, they're trying to convince who that the tax is good. Who is lobbying who? Oh, John wants me to mention the Strategic Helium Reserve. All right. So this is a big deal. They can't find a way. They can't. Well, look, we all need to talk funny at birthday parties in the future. So I guess we need the Strategic Helium Reserve. I don't. $18 trillion, folks. 18 trillion. This is how they spend us into oblivion.
A new Gallup poll shows that most Americans oppose Common Core. Awareness for Common Core has skyrocketed over the past year, and many people don't like what they see. Opposition to Common Core isn't really a partisan issue. Republicans are more likely to oppose Common Core, but even about 40% of Democrats do too. Among independents, about 60% oppose Common Core. The most common reason people gave for opposing Common Core is that it limits teachers' flexibility in the classroom. Under Common Core, teachers have less of a say. Teachers should have control over their classroom. They certainly know better than a federal bureaucrat. Maybe this is why support for Common Core is slipping among teachers. A recent Education Week poll shows that only 53% of teachers support Common Core. Now that's a significant decline from last year's poll. Another common reason people gave for opposing Common Core is that it's initiated by the federal government. The ultimate goal of Common Core is to have every school district in the entire nation follow the same uniform standards. It's a one-size-fits-all solution that doesn't work. Americans largely oppose the federal government intervening in local school systems. 56% of people say that local school boards should have the greatest influence in what is being taught. Few said the federal government should, and for good reason. Local communities know how to better design standards than people in Washington. Alright, so we get that many people oppose Common Core. But now, what can we do to stop it? Well, I'm glad you asked. Please visit commoncorefails.com. That's commoncorefails.com, and you can sign up and get a copy of the We Will Not Conform Action Plan. This document will teach you how to push back on Common Core in your communities, in your neighborhood, and in your states. Check it out. This is the time to get the federal government out of local schools.
This week, the New York Times will run the first in a 6-part series examining America's overuse of Hannah Montana star Miley Cyrus. Most experts now agree that at current usage levels, Miley Cyrus will be drained dry of entertainment value by 2013. Joining us now is Miley researcher Dr. Justin Canty from the Institute for Sustainable Cyrus Use. Doctor, you say this is the worst entertainment crisis humanity has ever faced?
Absolutely. Miley is a potent entertainment resource, but we are overusing her at unprecedented levels. She's on television, albums, toys, clothing.
Okay.
She has a sold-out live concert series. If we don't act now, the down-to-earth Miley, who likes text messaging with her friends and playing guitar in her bedroom, will be wiped off the earth forever.
You point to the examples of Lindsay Lohan, Britney Spears, the Olsen twins.
Well, they were bountiful entertainment resources that our overconsumption reduced to smoldering remnants. But we are burning through Miley at a far more aggressive rate.
Then what is the timeline here?
Typically, a teenage star can have profits drilled from her for approximately 6 years before dropping down to is she too wild levels. Miley was discovered only 3 years ago, and already there's pregnancy rumors, the photo scandal.
However, though, Disney says it has plans to pump songs and shows out of Miley for at least another 3 to 5 years before discarding what's left of her.
She won't last that long. Within 2 years, she'll be little more than a withered, desiccated husk, incapable of causing anyone any amusement at all.
So what are the consequences if we don't cut back on our Miley use?
As Miley entertainment becomes more and more scarce, the millions of families across the world that have grown dependent on it will begin to fight for it or hoard it. Society as we know it will fail to function, governments will collapse, humanity will be reduced to roving tribes of barbarians constantly searching and fighting and scouring the landscape for the last remaining Hannah Montana fashion doll or the Best of Both Worlds CD. Incidentally, that is the future that's depicted on the cover of my new book.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
When you dance like nobody is watching. And when you call Glenn, talk like the NSA and IRS are listening. Because most likely they are.
Guess who?
And they haven't had their daily dose of irreverent, insulting sarcasm today. We're counting on you. Call the show now.
Republic Radio Show. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. So, okay, I'm going to go to these illegals. I'm sorry, undocumented. The hell illegals that are here in the country now working away, and apparently the president is trying to give them some kind of amnesty or whatever. Yes, here's the latest on the privilege. They're going to get privileges that you don't get, and people who enter the country legally are not going to get. The latest is they won't have to comply with Obamacare. So the president is signing this executive order, and that sort of puts them in a legal limbo for a while. They're not here legally, but we're not going to run them out. They're allowed to work. But since they're not citizens of the country, they don't have to comply with Obamacare, but you do. And if you don't, you're going to be fined for that. Or is it a tax? I don't know. They keep mixing that one up. So is it a fine, a tax? It means the same thing. So, okay, now this has been, as you've been told by now, and this again was just confirmed on Capitol Hill during one of the hearings about all of this, it will encourage some employers to hire illegals over people who are here legally, whether you were born here or you became a legal citizen of the country. The reason why is there's a cost of compliance with Obamacare if you choose to bring your employees into a healthcare exchange. If you decide that's too expensive, which it probably is, well, then they're going to get you out of the healthcare exchange, and you're on your own. But that means that the company has to pay a fine per employee. Well, what if those employees are in the country illegally and they're exempt from Obamacare? Well, then they don't have to pay the fine. So who would a employer gravitate toward if that was the case, if they really wanted to save money? Okay, so this is where I've said this before, and I think I'm a step closer to actually doing it. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to move to Mexico, renounce my citizenship, and then sneak back in across the border. And when I come back into this country illegally, I've decided to work for Christine as her housemaid. What do you think, Christine?
I don't think I'd be hiring them. I'd hire somebody else that I knew was a citizen.
Well, I wouldn't be. I would have renounced. No, I wouldn't be. No, okay, never mind. Okay, what you got for me?
When I was going to school at Mount Marty in Yankton, I was part of the VITA program.
Okay.
I had an accounting minor, and we did taxes for the elderly and for the lower income folks and stuff as a service.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out when I was doing that in 2001 that any of those illegals, undocumented, that are working here in the country, that send the money home back to whatever country they're from,
mm-hmm.
that all of that money is deducted off of their income, and they don't have to pay any taxes on that money.
Wow.
So all that money that they earn here, they send it home, that is all deducted right off the top, and they do not have to pay income tax on that.
Okay, so I'm starting to get the idea. You tell me if I'm over the top on this, Christine. I'm starting to get the idea that perhaps we are being punished because we are law-abiding American citizens. But if you're from some other country, whatever the country is, and you snuck into America illegally, then you are rewarded.
And it's just, I was so infuriated then, and now I'm watching this, and I'm thinking about all the people in the industries that are going to not get hired.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, I just wonder how many people know that happens with.
Well, and what incentive do people have at this point to come to the country legally? I don't see any incentive to do it according to the laws set up, and we have those laws set up for a good reason. But I see no incentive of obeying the law at this point.
And my husband was a hard rock miner. He worked underground, and he was working in Nevada at one of the mines, and the workers there that are these workers that we're talking about were laughing at him because they were making like $9, $10 more an hour because they didn't have to pay any taxes, and they were laughing at him, saying, "You guys are just so stupid here. We're just working circle. We're just getting all this money around you. You guys are just idiots," calling us idiots.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think in a sense we are, because we keep electing the same people over and over again who have put us in this position in the first place.
So anyway, I just thought, I didn't know how many people knew that that was an incentive for them, and I just thought maybe that would create a little bit more uproar out there.
Yeah. All right, Christine. Thanks for coming. By the way, let's say you were in Yankton. Give me that whole rundown again. From where?
I was a student at Mount Marty. I graduated there in 2002, but in the year, I'm pretty sure it was 2000 and 2001, I worked on the VITA program, VITA, it's Volunteer Income Tax Assistance or something like that, where you would do taxes for folks that couldn't afford to go and pay at H&R Block or whatever.
I'm just trying to keep, I don't know how you keep all of that in your head, you know, Mount Marty, VITA, Yankton. I would get thoroughly confused, but okay. Thanks for calling.
Well, that's because I'm a woman and you're a man. Maybe that's the difference.
Oh, there goes the gender bias.
Daydreaming, son. It's time to get prepared. Time to get off your sofa and run yourself down to Surplus Unlimited in the Gun Traders building. Oh, my! 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Civilian soldier, they got everything you could need. That's right, the Surplus is unlimited. Surplus Unlimited ammo for babies and adults.
That's right, babies need camo too.
10 different styles of camo.
Oh, don't you look pretty.
550 cord, numerous colors, wool blankets, boots, hats, gloves, coats, shirts, tactical vests and belts, camping supplies, high-quality army cots, and that hard-to-find P38 can opener. Save time, save money. Surplus Unlimited in the Gun Traders building. 801 Carlisle on the Douglas Highway across from the fishing lake. Gillette, Wyoming.
Wyoming citizens, I come to call your attention to a matter of utmost importance and urgency that will affect each of us. Governor Meade, in backroom meetings, has been working for years, as he describes, to implement a refugee resettlement program in Wyoming. Meade has contacted the U.S. government to formalize a public-private partnership. My point is, were you asked your opinion or support of this partnership? Meade didn't even discuss the issue with our legislature. This program introduces incompatible cultures within our own. Many refugees in other American communities don't accept any aspect of U.S. culture, values, or laws. Do you want Meade, like President Obama, taking hard-earned tax dollars designated for our citizens to pay for a refugee resettlement program? We cannot allow recent outbreaks of disease and threat of lone wolf terrorism to jeopardize the safety of our families. I am Wyoming proud and want to assure we all are, today and for our future generations. Will you please help me?
Paid for by Citizens Protecting Wyoming.
So, you turn the key in your car? Well, that's not good. Around to the front of your car and pop the hood. Yep. That's the engine, all right. So you tug on this and you pull on that, and face it, you have no idea what you're doing. Don't touch that. Stop what you're doing before you get hurt. Get your car to Ideal Auto. Ideal Auto has the professionals that actually know what that stuff is and how it works. Ideal Auto, 2901 Dogwood Avenue, Gillette, Wyoming, 307-686-2259.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline McKinney, owner of Fast and Furious Detailing. Do you need your RV or toy hauler cleaned before summer? We will get it ready for you, so all you have to do is go have some fun. Or how about after summer fun, we can clean it up. We will even wash all of your bedding for you. Does your boat have dark film all around the outside of it? No problem. Fast and Furious Detailing is a full-service detailing company. We detail cars, SUVs, trucks, RVs, toy haulers, boats, ATVs, UTVs, and motorcycles. Fast and Furious Detailing hopes you can find everything you need. Our company is focused on providing high-quality service and customer satisfaction. We will do everything we can to meet your expectations. With a variety of offerings to choose from, we're sure you'll be happy working with us. We're located at 5753 South Winland Drive, and our phone number is 307-682-2470.
A recent study shows that blind people are having a hard time hearing the all-new electric cars like the Nissan Leaf and the Chevy Volt. As a result, the blind run the risk of being run over while attempting to cross the street.
That's horrible.
Yes, it is. Hey, you don't want to kill blind people, do you?
No, I bought my car to help save the planet.
But now you're killing blind people.
Well, not yet, I haven't. I just wanted to save the squirrel.
Well, given a choice, what would you rather run over? A blind person or a squirrel?
Well, a squirrel, I suppose.
Well, then forget that electric car. Go buy a big, noisy, gas-guzzling SUV so those blind people can hear you coming. Screw the squirrels.
I'm going out to buy one right now.
This message brought to you by SUVs to Save the Blind.
Yeah, I know, Mom, but they offered me more money to produce Glenn's show now that it's syndicated. Sure, I know. Stocking shelves at Walmart at 2 a.m. has a heck of a lot more prestige than... Oh, hang on, Mom. Be right back.
Let's get back in there. Here's Glenn Woods.
Oh, come on, Mom. Stop crying.
Oh, you're going to love this next one. No, seriously, this is just a hoot. Remember yesterday I told you that there was some kid who decided to become a jihadist, and so he left, what was it, France, I think it was, and he went to become a jihadist with ISIL. And what did they have him doing? Scrubbing toilets for jihadists. Wow. And I would bet there's a lot to clean up, especially if a guy is being trained to be a suicide bomber. Wow, there's a lot of mess to clean up there. Most of it's probably going to be before he gets to the toilet, because after all, he's strapping a bomb to himself. That scares anybody. But anyway, then there's this story. Some of these people have no idea what they're getting into. What did you think you were going to get into when you were becoming a jihadist and going to the Middle East? What did you think was going to happen? This one kid never saw that he was going to be handed a toilet brush. Here's the latest story. I just love this. So apparently, according to the UK Daily News, ISIS recruits are getting disillusioned and wanting to go home. Letters from French jihadists to their parents revealed misery, boredom, fear, and suffering. You know what boredom is? They don't have their iPads and things like that. One of them here says, I've basically done nothing except hand out clothes and food. One says, I also help to clean the weapons and transport dead bodies from the front. Oh, that's beautiful. What did you think you were going to get? One is saying, hey, it's getting around wintertime, it's getting hard out here. Really, you're at war. What did you think it was going to be? Another writes, I'm fed up. They make me do all the washing up around here. See? You're going to love this one. One kid wrote home to Will, Mommy, and Daddy. Now understand, he went off and joined a jihadist group. He wanted to be what? A terrorist, something like that? Wrote home and says he wants to come home because his iPad doesn't work anymore. I'm not making this up. You can go to my website. You can read the story for yourself. My iPad doesn't work anymore. Can I come back? You went to become a... This is what it is to be a jihadist. A lot of these guys don't even have iPads. Okay. Well, a third wrote tearfully, they want to send me to the front, but I don't know how to fight. Okay, I tell you what. I have a solution for that kid. So, well, since you left the West and went to the Middle East to become a member of a terrorist organization, and you're afraid that they might actually hand you a weapon and send you to the front line to get into a fight. I tell you what if that scares you because you don't know how to fight, we have a better solution. Do you guys think you know where I'm going with this? Yeah, that's right. Here's your vest. Just go ahead and put this nice warm vest on, and here's what you're going to do with that vest. Here's the trigger for it. See there? That way he doesn't have to worry about fighting on the front lines. It's a one-way ticket, but okay. So, quoting from the story here, everyone knows that the longer these people stay, the worse it will be because having watched or committed atrocities, they come back ticking time bombs themselves. Personally, and I know this is going to be a cold-hearted thing to say, but, you know, it's me, so what did you expect? I think this is a good experience for these young people. Well, they're so used to getting everything they want. They're so used to their iPads and living comfortably at home. They're so used to all of that. Let's go send them into the real world, and now they can experience... Todd is saying, there's an app for that. Yes, there is, Todd. And they can go to the real world, and they can experience it all for themselves. Haul around dead bodies that were killed by terrorists and so on. Go ahead and do that for a while. Then come back and see if you have a more realistic outlook on life.
I'm Andrew Clayton, and this is The Revolting Truth. Now that the Obamacare sign-up deadline has come and then gone again, and been delayed and then come, then suddenly without warning been decreed to be gone, and then returned and sort of snuck past under the radar, and then, surprise, popped up and has come and then gone. It's time to take a fair, nonpartisan look at the costs and benefits and even more enormous costs of the Affordable Care Act, to examine the administration's claims for its signature domestic achievement and separate the lies from the distortions and fantasies. For instance, the president recently ridiculed conservative concerns about the act by saying there are still no death panels, Armageddon has not arrived.
There are still no death panels. Armageddon has not arrived.
Let's examine those statements, true or false, or complete crap. There is no death panel in Obamacare, but there is the Independent Payment Advisory Board, 15 unelected bureaucrats who will employ the very latest in dartboards, graft, and magic 8-balls to determine whether your Medicare costs are affordable or you should be killed. Obamacare supporters point out that this is not like pushing our old people out to sea on ice floes, since global warming will melt all the ice floes and it'll just be like taking a warm bath and then you'll be dead. As for whether Armageddon has arrived, while there have been wars and rumors of wars and earthquakes in diverse places, the moon has not yet turned to blood. So there's something positive we can say about Obamacare. But the president's most important claims are that the share of Americans with insurance is up,
the share of Americans with insurance is up,
the growth of healthcare costs is down,
and the growth of healthcare costs is down. And that's good for our middle class, and that's good for our fiscal future.
All of which would be absolutely true if it weren't utterly false. In fact, Obamacare has only insured a minuscule percentage of the previously uninsured. No one knows how many of those can actually pay for what they got. Healthcare costs are soaring, and what's left of the middle class is pretty well screwed. As for our fiscal future, oh, look how pretty the moon has turned all red, and uh-oh. I'm Andrew Clavin with The Revolting Truth.
So, yes, Glenn is pro-gun, but we only let him have one bullet, and we make him keep it in his pocket.
Sound familiar?
Inside that man's body is a little child calling out for help.
Let's get back in there. Here's Glenn Woods.
It's the Bold Republic Radio Show. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Phone number, of course, if you want to get in on the action. By the way, it is open phone. So you can change the topic if you want to. Interrupt me if you have to. 307-363-4093 is the phone number. That's 307-363-4093. I'm going to do something a little different here. Let's get out of the news for a minute. And I do this because now and then you just need a break. I certainly do. Day after day, it's the same old hard news, and just now and then we just need to... So, okay, thanks to family and friends, I'm actually going to, for the first time in 5 years, take a vacation. Now, that's happening, so the affiliate stations listening out there, you're going to be sent a bunch of repeats for the 20th of this month, and it's going to just be a week that I'm gone. I don't normally do that, but it's the best of for a week. Okay, I haven't seen my family in 5 years. So I'm going to see my sister in Florida, right? So seeing my sister in Florida makes me think of where I grew up. So right away I started taking a look at Florida newspapers again. Florida news. Wonder what's been happening in my old stomping ground since I've been gone. Okay, let's take a look at some of these headlines here. These are actual Florida headlines. I'm not making this up. This is where I'm going home to. Florida man assaults friend with a bucket in an argument over whether or not an acquaintance was dead. See, this is the state that I'm going. This is my home state that I'm going back to. Florida man with Bentley logo tattooed on his face arrested for identity theft. You think I'm making this up? I'm not making this up. This is actual Florida headlines from my home state. Florida man arrested in Boy Scout costume. I wonder if he fit. All right. Florida man. A lot of men here offer $3 and a chicken dinner for sex. Now, he offered it to a woman. What if she beat him up over that? If I were her, I would have been insulted. Florida man tells cops, I thought cocaine was not illegal. Well, look, if you're going to be arrested for doing cocaine, you might as well just go ahead and throw out anything that you think will possibly stick. Sure, why not? Florida man arrested after stealing 36,000 pounds of Crisco. Wow, that's a lot of Crisco. What are you planning to bake with that? I don't, because, you can do a lot with Crisco. What are you planning to bake with? Florida man drove dead grandmother around nudist colony for 5 hours. Now, what I don't want to know is, was the dead grandmother nude? I don't want to know. I just, moving on. This is where I'm going this month when I go on vacation. I'm going back to this, my home state. Florida man assaults daughter with dirty diaper. Ew. Florida man eats evidence in court. Oh, now see what it doesn't say here, I'll have to dig into the story, is what was the evidence? Okay. So this is a little history on your host here that you listen to hopefully every day. This is where I come from. This is my home state. Florida man tells police his wife was abducted by holograms. Now see, again, if you know you're going to get arrested for something, might as well just start throwing out anything you can and just see what sticks. Why not? Florida man removes face tattoo. Not his face. He has a tattoo of a face. He removes it with a meat grinder. Well, it worked. I mean, no, don't give him a hard time. It worked. Florida man stabbed after taking too many pork chops. I wonder if the pork chops were cooked in Crisco. I'm just saying. Florida man stabbed after taking too many pork. You could. Okay. Florida man tries to convince jury to watch his sex tape. Okay, see, and it was about making those tapes, and he wants to. That's voyeurism in a very strange way. A lot of men in this. I haven't come across too many women in these things. Don't look at me. I may have been a guy raised in Florida, but I've never made a headline like this. Yet. Florida man shoots himself on purpose to sue government. I bet some of you are probably tempted at this point. Though some of you would just like to shoot government, but okay. Florida man shot for texting in a movie theater. Oh, when you're in a movie theater, let me tell you something. No, you need to be quiet. Todd, who sends me messages on the video stream, says, I'm from Sanford. I know exactly where that is. One of my sisters used to live in Sanford. You're making me feel awesome about my roots, Glenn. You know something? We have some very unusual roots here. And Sanford, you've seen some of the headlines from Sanford, Florida, so you know what I'm talking about. Sanford's around Orlando, for those who don't know. Let's see. A Florida man arrested in alleged Taco Bell drive-through window groping. Of course he was. Florida man claims to be too fat for prison. Oh, don't worry. You stay in prison long enough, and yeah, you're gonna lose weight, but just not the way you wanted to exercise. Florida town names Vanilla Ice Citizen of the Year. Of course they did. Florida woman commits identity theft to make bail to get out of jail. And see, now that's clever. Let me do that again, because that's really clever. Florida woman, see, it's a woman this time, not a guy, commits identity theft to make bail to get out of jail. See, now that's, if she would put that much work into being an honest, decent citizen, she wouldn't be in jail in the first place. I don't know why people put all of this effort into criminal behavior and then they just wind up in jail. If you put all of that thought and effort into being a decent, honest citizen. Anyway, I just can't wait to get back to Florida and see my family. They live in, by the way, Todd, they live in Lake Wales. I grew up on Sanibel. So Lake Wales, Florida, you want to talk about a small hick town.
evidence shows that Michael Brown was an 18-year-old, 6'4", 289-pound black criminal who robbed a convenience store, who attacked a police officer while high, and who then got shot. That's what the grand jury determined when they decided not to indict Officer Darren Wilson. But evidence has never stopped people like Cher, who tweeted, quote, "Something must be done to protect innocent young black men," or Moby, who tweeted that, quote, "Darren Wilson chased Michael Brown and murdered him," or Serena Williams, who tweeted, quote, "Wow, just wow, shameful, what will it take, question mark, question mark, question mark," or Katy Perry, who said praying for an equal America, or Macklemore, who said no justice and tried to block the I-5 in Seattle, or Rihanna, who tweeted out a photo of this sign, or LeBron James, who tweeted this image, or the St. Louis Rams, 5 of whom walked onto the football field on Sunday in the famed hands up, don't shoot pose. President Obama, of course, jumped in too. He said this:
"There are still problems, and communities of color aren't just making these problems up."
That's a lie, at least with regard to Michael Brown. Grand jury testimony shows the community of Ferguson, Missouri did make this problem up. In fact, they lied, they intimidated witnesses, they pressured others to lie, all to put an innocent man behind bars for the rest of his life in the name of social justice. According to the St. Louis County Police investigative report, the mob mentality began immediately. A huge crowd formed at the scene of the shooting almost instantaneously. That crowd included both Brown's mother and his stepfather, according to witness testimony. The police report states, quote, "The investigation of the scene was interrupted several times by death threats directed toward police officers and gunshots being fired by unknown persons around the crime scene." One witness told police she didn't want to, quote, "get involved for fear of retaliation." She said, "I have to live here." An adult male near the scene, quote, commented to detectives as they walked by that he witnessed the incident and that the officer was in the right and did what he had to do. He added that the statements being made by bystanders in the complex were inaccurate. The male indicated he was not making any further comments or identifying himself. 2 more witnesses, one male, one female, said they were afraid to speak about what they witnessed. Both said they were worried about retaliation from people who live in the area. Still another witness said threats had been made to the residents of Canfield Green apartment complex, which is situated just outside the shooting zone. He said notes had been posted on various apartment buildings threatening people not to talk to cops, and that gunshots were still being fired every night. He said there were at least 10 other people who were outside and saw exactly what happened. He said Wilson told Brown to get down and that Brown never raised his hands. In FBI interviews, witnesses repeated such accusations. Witness 10, whose account backed Wilson's story, said, quote, "I just wanted to come forward and just tell it how I seen it, because I feel like it's very rare that somebody's going to come forward and tell actually what happened." Witness 14 stated, quote, "You have to understand the mentality of some of these young guys. They have nothing to do. When they can latch onto something, they embellish it because they want something to do. The majority of them do not work. All they do is sit around and get high all day." Witness 14 added that within 1 minute of the shooting, there were 70 or 80 people, quote, "saying things that didn't happen, and they started embellishing it when the stepfather showed up." That would be this stepfather, Lewis Head. Witness 14 said witnesses were lying when they said the officer, quote, "ran up behind him and shot him in the back." Witnesses lied, he said, when they said he had his hands straight up in the air. Witnesses lied, he said, when they stated that Brown was shot well down. He continued, quote, "They are set. They're looking for a reason to explode. That's what they do because they don't have anything else to do." The original witness who created the hands up, don't shoot myth, Dorian Johnson, he helped Brown rob the convenience store. He then went on TV and lied about Brown having his hands up and being shot from behind. He then had to change his story multiple times to fit the autopsy results. His original lies had quickly become the prevailing wisdom, however. At least 12 witnesses claimed that Brown was shot from behind. That was factually false. At least 16 witnesses said Brown's hands were up when he was shot. That was factually false. One witness said Wilson used a taser and then used a gun. False. Another said she witnessed the events but admitted she was blocks away when the events occurred. Still another witness said there were 2 officers involved in the shooting and admitted she couldn't tell what she'd seen from what she'd read about the case. One witness admitted in testimony to changing his story to, quote, "coincide with what really happened." Another witness said he was friends with Brown and that Brown was shot while on his knees. When informed that such a story contradicted all physical evidence, the man admitted he hadn't seen the shooting, and then he asked if he could leave because he was, quote, uncomfortable.
Do yourself a favor. Don't just listen to the show. See what Glenn's talking about at boldrepublic.com. There you can watch the show live on YouTube or download the show and listen to it later. Now let's get back in there. Here's Glenn Woods.
Everybody in Cleveland, no minority got Obama fall. Keep Obama in president, you know?
The reality of a lot of the North Pole starting to evaporate.
Read the bill. What good is reading the bill if it's 1,000 pages and you don't have 2 days and 2 lawyers to find out what it means?
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Obama and Biden want to raise taxes by $8 trillion. Guess what? Yes, we do.
If you got a business, that you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
There is no terrorist threat. Yes, there have been horrific acts of terrorism, and yes, there will be acts of terrorism again. That does not mean that there's just some massive terrorist threat.
The February issue of Esquire magazine, Blagojevich said, quote, "I'm blacker than Barack Obama."
If I lived in Massachusetts, I'd try to vote 10 times. I don't know if they'd let me or not, but I'd try to. Yeah, that's right. I'd cheat to keep these bastards out. I would.
I won't have to worry about putting gas in my car. I won't have to worry about paying my mortgage. If I help him, he's going to help me.
Irreverent, but honest and tastefully tacky somehow. Here comes another hour of insensitivity training with Glenn Woods.
See, I thought I was over the cigarette topic for today, but I got to bring the cigarettes back up again. And you're going to be really interested to see why. Hold on, here we go, final hour of the program. It's the Bold Republic Radio Show. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. So here's the deal. I told you, and we haven't seen a reaction as of yet, but we probably will at some point. Another grand jury, this time New York City, just acquitted some police officers. This one was caught on video as they wrestle a big guy to the ground, white police officers, black man. And the black man is put into a chokehold, and essentially he's choked out and dies. Okay. Grand jury found no wrongdoing by the police officers, covered that in the first hour of the program. What were they after him for? All of those police officers, one man. See, I don't see this as anything to do with racism, although Al Sharpton's going to disagree with that, but okay. There's nothing to do with racism. The race baiters will say that but it has nothing to do with it. Why were they trying to arrest him? Well, he was on the streets of New York, allegedly, trying to sell single cigarettes to people. And that's illegal. I don't know why, but it is. And apparently tax-free, too. Now, New York City has the highest taxes on cigarettes anywhere in the country. And as I've told you guys, the moment you raise cigarette taxes like that, what do people do? It sends it underground. Now, in New York, they'll try to convince you. No, oh no, the city will say, oh no, people are not smoking as much. Smoking is way down. And what are they basing that on? Well, they're going into stores that sell cigarettes, and are you selling as many cigarettes? Well, no, we're not. Not since you raised the taxes. People are smoking less. And yet actual surveys of smokers show that smoking in New York City is up, not down. Even though they banned it in apartment buildings, they banned it in any kind of retail stores or restaurant, they banned it outside, and yet the underground industry is through the roof. If you want to help the mob, street gangs, to make a lot of money, tax the daylights out of something and try to make it illegal. All right, so Julie Borowski, I had a gentleman on from FreedomWorks in the first hour of the program. Julie Borowski is also from FreedomWorks. She just posted this on Facebook. So apparently cigarette taxes are sending smokers across the border. Well, I've never told you this story before, have I? Not many times I've told you this story. Here's the latest. Since January 2009, the cigarette sales in Maryland have dropped to a significant 25%. Has 1/4 of the smoking population in Maryland spontaneously adopted a healthier lifestyle? No. Is it coincidental that in January, Governor Martin O'Malley agreed to increase excise taxes on cigarettes from $1 to $2 for every single pack? Currently, Maryland's cigarette taxes are the 4th highest in the nation. Some smokers have limited their intake due to 100% tax increase. However, for numerous people addicted to cigarettes, they now have great incentive to obtain their cigarettes through an ever-increasing and thriving black market. Lawmakers claimed that the exceptional excise tax that was set on cigarettes in order to assist Maryland citizens to make healthier choices. Well, the policy is to send them either underground, selling illegally, or across the border. However, the real purpose of the excise tax on cigarettes is to help lessen Maryland's severe deficit as well. They wanted to actually, and this is where I get a kick out of this, this is where they say, we're going to raise the cigarette tax that makes more money, and we're going to reduce our deficit, plus people are going to quit smoking. You can't have both if you think about it for half a second. If fewer people are smoking, you have less money going to reduce your deficit. Chris sends me a note on the video stream. Is it possible the city wanted him taken out because he wasn't paying the record taxes on those cigarettes? No, I don't think so, Chris. But he was he a warning to others? I don't think so. Well, Chris is putting on his tinfoil hat. Maybe he was a warning to others. He's being tongue-in-cheek there, but you understand what he's trying to say. Back to Maryland. Maryland's geography is the main culprit for decreased cigarette sales. It doesn't take long to get to the next state. The states bordering Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, Delaware, D.C., due to Maryland's small size, every citizen is able to drive just a little way. Maryland is tiny. Drive just a few minutes and you're somewhere where you can buy cigarettes at a cheaper price. The two most popular counties, Montgomery and Prince George, border Virginia and western Maryland. Residents are purchasing their cigarettes in neighborhood in West Virginia for less. And, oh, by the way, they're making some money off of this, too. They're buying extra cigarettes, and what are they doing with it? They're heading across the border and making some money selling the reduced-price cigarettes to their friends and family and coworkers. Of course they are. And yet, these people never learn, because the next thing, states continue to raise their cigarette taxes, thinking they're going to get money and people are going to smoke less. It never works out that way. Every state surrounding Maryland has lower government enforcement of cigarette tax. Accordingly, Pennsylvania's tax is $1.35. Virginia tax is a mere 30 cents. West Virginia's tax is 55 cents. Delaware tax, $1.15. I guess most people are heading to Virginia, right? For habitual smokers, the benefits of traveling to a neighboring state. Okay, let me tell you something. I'm going to put this story aside for a minute. I have a parody spot that I run on air. I'm going to see while I'm talking about this if I can find it real quick, called Banned in California. There it is. Now, I'm about to play it for you, but here's I came up with this concept a few years ago. Banned in California. See, California continues to try to either ban things or regulate things or raise taxes so it's impossible to purchase it in California. And so I came up with a great business idea. What if we opened up a chain? You can be an investor. Let's do this. What if we opened up a chain of retail stores along the California border, starting in Southern California, going all the way up and around? And everybody who wants to purchase something that is either banned or heavily taxed and regulated in California will just head over the border. Go to our store. These are going to be big box stores. Buy whatever you want and then sneak back across the border with those banned items. And if you're wondering how would you sneak back across the border, don't worry. We have illegal immigrants on staff to help you get back across the California border. They know how to do this. So let's go to places like Maryland with those high cigarette taxes. And they're surrounded by states with lower cigarette taxes. I guarantee you, as you leave Maryland and cross into a neighboring state like Virginia, there are big stores around that have pretty much nothing but cigarettes in them. So you can buy them by the box, not just carton load, but boxes of cartons and smuggle them back across. I guarantee you that's happening right now. If we went on Google Earth and looked around, I guarantee you they're right across the border. Here's the Banned in California commercial. Hey friends, do you find yourself living in California and able to buy less and less of the basic fun and necessities of life? Well, now you can, because of a new chain of stores opening up on the California border. It's Banned in California. Yes, Banned in California provides all the products that you're no longer allowed to buy inside the California border. Guys, have you been wanting to buy that new fur coat for the little lady? What about that massive, energy-guzzling, big screen TV? You'll find it on sale now at Banned in California. Serious lawnmowers that get the job done and big SUVs. And yes, to keep those little kitties happy, get them a Happy Meal with extra trans fat in the food court, of course. And feel free to walk around and smoke inside while the little lady goes to the tanning bed. Yes, Banned in California, now located at every state location along the California border. Illegal immigrants on staff to show you how to sneak back across the border with everything you've purchased. Now, for those people watching on the video stream, Chris just sent me a note here regarding the Banned in California commercial. He says, I sent you a YouTube link. I sent the YouTube link to my family in northern Los Angeles area. They love the commercial. They think it would be a especially great idea between Vegas and LA. Yeah, well, you know, I'm only half kidding about this. I mean, seriously, we could make a lot of money if you guys wanted to invest in Banned in California. Todd says, why are people not seeing that if you break the law, resist lawful orders, the duty appointed officials, well, they're going to come after you. Bad things will happen. When bad things happen, it is the offender's choice. Well, now, okay, what he's talking about is that gentleman in New York who was selling, apparently, allegedly selling cigarettes, single cigarettes. Now, I look at that and I think, why in the world would New York make that illegal? But they did. So now, by the way, this guy was a father of 6, trying to make a few extra bucks on the side. What a dumb thing to die over. So while I look at New York and say, New York, why would you ban the sale of that? That's just so stupid. Having said that, if it is illegal, just so you know, if you choose to engage in the activity of selling illegal cigarettes, here come the police. Okay? And if you decide that you're not going to cooperate with them, you need to understand. So for those people who are going to protest the verdict in this case, that the police officers are not going to be charged, you're going to blame race. I'm not blaming race here. He knew well, this guy was selling cigarettes and knew that the police were around as he was selling cigarettes illegally. He knows what's at risk here. He's probably dealt with the police before. Don't tell me you don't know what the risks are. You don't want the police hanging around? Don't do anything illegal.
Glenn Woods, BoldRepublic.com.
To my darling wife and kids, I'm writing to you what might be the last thing I ever say. I'm trapped in the bathroom, you see. The toilet is clogged. If I open the door right now, it might be the end for us all. I think it might go all the way down the sewer line. Maybe the clog even goes to the septic. Well, I'm not sure if it needs to be cleared or pumped. Please call Roto-Rooter right now. They're the only qualified service in Northeast Wyoming. Just go find the card for Roto-Rooter under the magnet on the refrigerator. The guy's name is Brian. The phone number is 307-686-1573. If you don't get this note in time, I love you.
Wyoming citizens, I come to call your attention to a matter of utmost importance and urgency that will affect each of us. Governor Meade, in backroom meetings, has been working for years, as he describes, to implement a refugee resettlement program in Wyoming. Meade has contacted the U.S. government to formalize a public-private partnership. My point is, were you asked your opinion or support of this partnership? Meade didn't even discuss the issue with our legislature. This program introduces incompatible cultures within our own. Many refugees in other American communities don't accept any aspect of U.S. culture, values, or laws. Do you want Meade, like President Obama, taking hard-earned tax dollars designated for our citizens to pay for a refugee resettlement program? We cannot allow recent outbreaks of disease and threat of lone wolf terrorism to jeopardize the safety of our families. I am Wyoming proud and want to assure we all are, today and for our future generations. Will you please help me?
Paid for by Citizens Protecting Wyoming.
Howdy, folks. This is Swede from Swede Specialties here in Gillette, and I'm here today with Mr. Wimpy. Mr. Wimpy, have you ever tried a home-brewed beer?
Oh no, I only like wimpy beer.
Would you like to try a home-brewed beer, Mr. Wimpy?
Well, okay, but just a sip. It looks kind of dark.
Just close your eyes and try it. Well, Mr. Wimpy, what do you think of homebrew? Now that's real beer, Pilgrim. So give Swede a call, 307-686-0588, or go to SwedeSpecialties.com.
Hi, this is Sal from the Liberal Clearinghouse, inviting you to come on down and get what you can before it all goes. Remember, the Liberal Clearinghouse is staffed by unemployed college students and Common Core dropouts. So it's pretty much self-serve down here. We have a wide selection of broken wind turbines, solar panels, unsold electric cars to get them before they catch on fire. For the internet junkies, we have special deals on government-produced internet viruses, surveillance software, and crashed websites. Everything must go. Are you an unemployed doctor or a patient that can't afford an unemployed doctor? We have them both. We have abandoned HUD homes, abandoned tenant houses, abandoned skyscrapers, abandoned cities like Detroit, and abandoned websites like Obamacare. Hurry, hurry, hurry. We are borrowing money from the grandkids tomorrow so that you can afford the subsidies to purchase today. So come see the Liberal Clearinghouse today before it winds up on the scrap heap of tomorrow. Thank you.
So, yes, Glenn is pro-gun, but we only let him have one bullet, and we make him keep it in his pocket.
Sound familiar?
Inside that man's body is a little child calling out for help.
Let's get back in there. Here's Glenn Woods.
Oh, I just saw something disturbing, and I'm going to have to play another one of these false commercials for you. Which because it just fits, that's why. During the course of your commercial breaks, I go looking to see what else is out there as far as news. Is anything breaking while you're listening to the commercial break? It's what I do to try to keep you informed while we're blathering on about things. And I saw, it was on Facebook, someone has invented a machine. This is automation, not in a factory, though. Not in a factory, it's outside. It's a machine for construction sites. So for those people who want to raise the minimum wage, this machine was laying bricks. So if you wanted to build a brick building, house or bigger, this is a machine that automatically puts the cement on and lays the brick. Now, it was doing it with red bricks, but I bet you could do the exact same thing as soon as you have that design with cinder blocks and so on. Holy cow, that's going to hurt some people. Well, for those people who want to raise the minimum wage.
Have you ever heard of the American Automation Association? Oh, probably not. We're a company that produces high-quality automation systems, the kind that replace employees, thus saving corporations lots of money and increasing their personal profits. Now, no doubt you've seen some of our inventions every day. The self-serve automated checkout at the grocery store, thus saving money on checkout clerks. The self-serve gas pump, that was us too. No need for an attendant. The ATM machine at your local bank. Yep, that was us. And so many more gadgets that are behind the scenes that you may not even know about, like the automation machine at this very radio station that eliminates the need for a full-time employee to man the board. On behalf of the American Automation Association, we would like to thank the Democrat Party for pushing a minimum wage increase up to $15 an hour. Each time the minimum wage is increased, we at the AAA get more business from companies looking to get rid of their lower wage employees and replace them with automation. A $15 an hour minimum wage increase would be a boom for our business. Also, thanks for heaping piles of rules and regulations on local companies as well, and taxes and Obamacare. Thanks to socialism, business at American Automation is booming. And now there's an automation machine. There's some kind of automated gizmo that you can bring to a construction site, and it will lay bricks. Again, if they can do that with red bricks, it's not long before they're doing that with cinder blocks and so on. Wow.
So pretty soon, what? We're building houses completely by automation. So I know construction workers tend to get paid more than minimum wage. But for those minimum wage jobs out there in construction, just so you know, your jobs can be automated too. All right, that would save heap big money. It really would. I would just like to see, what is it going to be like when it's time to take a break on a construction site? Because my father was a builder. I mean, he was a foreman, and he had his own company, and he built all sorts of houses and so on. So you know what that looks like when everybody sits down and takes a break. What is it going to look like when it's a union break for all of the automation machines out there? Holy cow, that's going to be interesting. Because, you know, what you need to do is make sure that these machines can still drink a cup of coffee and take a shot of a flask when the boss isn't looking. So, hi, Heath, how you doing?
Not too bad. How you doing? You're probably going to get tired of me calling in your
No, sir, not at all. You don't call enough. What you got for me?
You're covering a lot of topics that I wanted to ring in on. One of the things was talking about, you know, some of the things that are going on with the different cases, the one in New York, the one down in Ferguson, Missouri. And what I don't understand is when you start talking about this topic, and because I'm a white guy, you know, I get in, and some of the views that I have, you know, I get the typical white response with, I don't care either way what race or are involved or anything else. The responsibility part is the troubling part.
Right.
And it reminds me of when I was a deputy, and you go to a party and you bust a bunch of kids for, you know, minor in possession or whatever it would be, and the immediate response you'd get from parents was, "You're picking on my kid." And instead of the responsibility part of, you know, if your kid wasn't at a party drinking a bunch of booze, tearing up stuff and everything else, I wouldn't even be here.
Right.
Instead of looking at it that way, you're looked at that you're picking on somebody.
Well, the
reason is it's. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to. So you've got a better point of view on this than I would, because here's my assessment on it. On the one hand, it's stupid that selling single cigarettes in New York is illegal, but it is. So this guy is out on the street selling single cigarettes, and he knows that means the police might just show up and bust him, and he knows that if he resists arrest, they're going to take him down. So should we blame the officers if he's injured? You tell me, because you were in that line of work.
That's correct. And when you do that, I mean, some of the laws that are out there, as an officer, you might think it's the stupidest law you can ever dream up. But when you're enforcing it, that's your job. That's what you're supposed to do. And if you start looking the other way on one thing, you have to start looking the other way on a lot of other things. So, you know, the law is the law. That's what you're there to enforce. And when you enforce it and somebody resists, no matter how stupid you might think that law is, it's your job to take care of it. You know what I mean?
Right. Now, what about in the case, again, since I got you on the phone, this is perfect to ask you a question like this. In New York, it's illegal to take someone down with a chokehold, but this officer used a chokehold anyway, and so it turns out now the guy he's taken down is dead. Should there be any action against that officer?
I don't believe so. Not criminally. I mean, they might have. It depends on what their policies are. And their policy of use of force.
Mm.
You know, it differs from agency to agency. You know, the one thing, the size of the individual.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was a big, huge guy.
It took several people to take him down.
Yeah, that's correct. And he was resisting. I mean, if he wasn't resisting, if it was somebody that was completely compliant and was not resisting whatsoever, and then they did that to him anyway, that'd be a different story.
Okay.
But it didn't happen like that.
All right. I appreciate you calling in with your expertise, and no, you don't call in enough. Please do it more often.
All right, thanks.
All
all these women coming out lobbing rape charges against Bill Cosby? Did he leak that he's running for president on a Republican ticket or something?
I think what's happening. Propaganda.
Okay, what happened to innocent until proven guilty? Bill Clinton is a proven adulterous pervert and caught lying about it in court, and the feminists love him. The gavel hasn't been brought down on Bill Cosby yet, and his syndications are getting taken off the air. Somehow he's getting the Clarence Thomas treatment. If Bill Cosby is proven guilty, then he's got to own up to his sentence. But he's only guilty in the court of public opinion. And as far as I know, if his shows are being taken off the air, then the rest of the cast won't get their royalties. That's wrong. And they'll be paying for something that Bill Cosby has been proven guilty of. Al Sharpton seems to be hiding behind his mustache on this. It must be really awkward for him. Not because Bill Cosby is black, but he probably doesn't want to be revisited by the Tawana Brawley thing. I reckon Bill Cosby's getting the defamation of character treatment because he didn't fall in line with the black narrative like he was supposed to. Since he's not going to make excuses for black folks and dare to show a little tough love, he's going to have to pay the price for that. And now you're going to be defamed as the man who couldn't keep his hands out of the pudding. Some of these people want to bust Bill Cosby so bad, they're even saying he tried to get busy with Raven-Symoné, even though she was a little girl when the show was ending. I read the allegation on Hip Hop Hangover. Raven-Symoné herself said it's sick and not true. Now, Bill Cosby may have learned a lesson or two about this. Liberals are not your friends. And two, don't ever speak out against the voter stock of the liberal elite. The Democrats do not want you getting their voter stock thinking differently than the way they want them thinking. You didn't cross the line, Mr. Cosby. You were kind of sounding too much like them Republican folks. And the Klanocrats don't like that Republican talk. See, Bill, if you were doing what these women allege, then you should have never allowed yourself to be seen as anything else but a liberal. You could have sodomized these women while making them eat Jell-O, and Whoopi would have defended you saying, well, it wasn't rape. But they detected some conservatism in your posturings. The timing of this is weird. Maybe a long-awaited plan has been executed against Bill because he's got a message that upsets the apple cart. The Democrats can't have black folks living like the Huxtables. That would make black folks independent from them. I'm Alfonso Reyes. Mustache on this.
Hi, my name is Nicholas. I run a little local newspaper that I happen to own in a small town. I have to do it pretty much all by myself. I do have some employees that do a wonderful job, but advertising, sales, PR, reporting, photography, bookwork, sure, I would love to hire some people to help me. Government taxes, rules, regulation, they all get in the way, make it impossible.
Hi, my name is Chris. I sell and install flooring. I'm proud to say I own my own company. I should be on the floor right now selling to my customers, but instead I'm back here in this little hole I call my office, trying to catch up on paperwork. I was actually able to make a lot more money when I could run my company. Thanks, big government. Because of you, my life sucks more and more every day.
All I want to do is replace my washing machine. But thanks to the EPA, my choices are limited to energy-efficient models that don't work worth a damn. Thanks, big government. My life didn't suck enough.
Need to let off a little steam? Yep, that's why we installed phone lines into the studio. Call Glenn now. Old Republic is on the air. Here's Glenn Woods.
It's the last half hour-ish or so of the program. My name is Glenn Woods. Bold Republic is on the radio. Phone number, of course, 307-363-4093. That's the phone number, 307-363-4093. And, of course, pretty much everything I talk about and a whole lot more, you'll find it on my website, which is boldrepublic.com. And you can do what Heath just did in that last call, which is just change the subject and interrupt me if you have to. That's fine. I don't mind. That's part of what, and some hosts only do that at the end of the week. I make sure to do that every day of the week because there's a lot of different stories we got to get to, but there's a lot of things that you folks want to say, and I'm giving you the opportunity to say it. So again, 307-363-4093. Some of the headlines coming in right now. Texas is leading a coalition of states in a lawsuit against Obama immigration actions. So it says, good, well, okay. 17 states are joining a lawsuit against President Obama on his immigration actions. Okay, that's pretty sizable. Now, I also want to see what Congress is going to do at the same time. Now, a lot of these states, and of course, not all 17 are border states, but we got some border states here, of course, Texas being one of them. That important to these guys, considering what they're dealing with on the border. So I'm going to be interested to see exactly what the lawsuits entail. And here again, the president's own words are just being thrown right back in his face. Well, he said he couldn't take action like this. Then he went ahead and did it. Texas Governor-elect Greg Abbott announced today Texas is leading a 17-state coalition in suing the Obama administration over their president's executive actions on immigration. This ought to be interesting. The lawsuit filed in U.S. court on today names the heads of top immigration enforcement agencies as defendants in the case. Abbott said in a news conference in Austin, he said the broken immigration system should be fixed by Congress, not by fiat. There's something I will agree with, by the way, I'll agree with on, is that the immigration system is a broken system. I would agree with that. I mean, well, let's take a look at anything out there. I mean, seriously, let's take a look at anything out there that the federal government tries to accomplish. And can you say, I don't care if we're talking healthcare or education, can you name something that the federal government's currently doing that is not broken? Because as far as I'm concerned, it's all broken at this point, every bit of it. I would say that there's nothing out there that the federal government is currently not involved in that is working smoothly. Can you name something that is working smoothly? Because I can't currently name anything that's working smoothly out there. Can you name something? I can't. Okay. So at this point, I think Texas and some other states have a point. But okay, let's move on from there. He said President Obama recently announced executive actions, a move designed to spare as many as 5 million people living illegally in the United States from deportation, directly violating the fundamental promise to the American people by running afoul of the Constitution. He says the ability of the president to dispense with laws was specifically considered and unanimously rejected by our founding fathers. He says specifically Article 2, I'm glad he's doing it this way, Article 2, Section 3 of the Constitution, which states the president shall take care of the laws and faithfully execute them. He said the lawsuits asked the court to require Obama go through Congress before acting laws rather than making them up himself. So there's the gist of the lawsuit. Okay, we'll see. 17 states involved. We'll see where it goes.
I'm Professor Burke from Farmers Insurance, and this is 30 Seconds of Smart. So you want discounts on your home insurance. Upgrade your roof. Upgrade your plumbing. Get a burglar alarm. Get a fire alarm. Combine policies with your spouse. Bundle your coverage. Quit smoking. And, of course, talk to farmers, because the more you know about home insurance, the more you can save.
We are farmers.
Get smarter about your insurance at farmers.com.
Stop by and see Lyle Austin, 201 West Lakeway Road in the Lakeway Professional Center, 686-5002. That's 686-5002.
Wimpy, are you still drinking that homebrewed beer the Swedes from Sweet Specialties help you to make?
Why, yes, dear. I sure am, whiny. Why do you ask?
We never have any good wine around here. I would like something really good.
All I hear around here is wine, wine, wine. Why don't you get the makings from Swede at Swede Specialties? He can help you make really good wine right here at home. Give Swede a call, 686-0588, or go to swedespecialties.com.
Hey, Frank, you're actually gonna fall for that hook, are you? I'm just so hungry, and the lure looks so good. Yeah, well, just look up through the ice hole at that guy. Hey, he's got all the latest gear, doesn't he? He's so warm and comfortable, and the top window sportsman clothing, and fishing pole, and the best lures, nice comfortable chairs, coolers, warmers. He's got it all. I can't stand it. I'm gonna bite the hook. Are you seriously gonna fall for that? No, it's just that it has to be warmer up there above the ice than down here in the water. Yeah, and that...
Open Monday through Saturday, 8 till 9, Sunday, 9 to 6.
Now I'm covered.
Now, for the first time, you can be covered. If you've been waiting to be covered in mandates, regulations, and new fees, the time is finally here. Sort of. You guys stop showing that screen. So make some coffee.
I'm covered.
Approach life with reckless abandon. Kick your feet up.
I'm covered.
Because you're going to be in the waiting room for quite a while. But don't you worry your pretty little head off. First of all, it wouldn't be covered.
We're covered.
No, I said it would not be covered.
Now we're covered.
No, that's not... Yeah, I don't think you understood what I meant by covered earlier. It was a little bit ironic. Seriously, stop showing that screen. Healthcare.gov is not responsible for fulfilling any of the expectations, mandates, legal requirements, hopes, or dreams of any users. Results may vary. Consult your Obamacare-approved doctor or pharmacist to find out if Obamacare is right for you. Current waiting lists to have your doctor chosen for you are unavailable and will remain so for the foreseeable future. Obamacare may cause wait times, a decline in healthcare quality, money loss, political activism, anger, despair, hopelessness, frustration, European envy, dependence, and nausea. If you discover that your premiums have gone up as a result of Obamacare, please note that the program is working as intended and refrain from complaining. Call your doctor if you experience anxiety for longer than 4 hours. If you wish to opt out of Obamacare for any reason, please start a multi-million-dollar business, join a union, or run for Congress.
No, Glenn, it doesn't matter if you're part owner of the company. No cigars in the studio. Oh, what is that smell? Put your shoes back on. I don't want to smell that. Look, if you want good talent, you have to put up with some bad habits. Let's get back in there with the original bad habit boy, Glenn Woods.
Doing a little bit of house cleaning last 15 minutes-ish of the program. Back to Obamacare real quick. Americans are spending 42% more on health insurance than they did in 2007. Whoa, stop. So for all those people who are telling you, all the liberals out there who are telling you, hey, you're saving a lot of money. No, you're not saving a lot of money. Look, there are those people who are getting subsidies, and by the way, your federal government cannot keep up the subsidies. It's going to run out at some point, so you can just forget that lasting forever. We're already over $18 trillion in debt. This is not going to work out, okay? All right, but here's the story as far as those people who are covered without the subsidies. Data on consumer spending shows that spending on health insurance surged 42% from 2007 to now. According to analysts by the Wall Street Journal, the rise reflects the increasing cost of health insurance and the Affordable Care Act's requirement that everybody buy extensive health insurance. This is what I mean by buying insurance to cover every little stupid thing. This is what happens when you do that. When you try to buy insurance to cover every little stupid thing, the cost of that insurance goes high. Well, okay. Here, let me speak to Jonathan Gruber, who thinks we're all stupid out here. Hey, Mr. Gruber, duh. By the way, he's in trouble. Let me get away from this story real quick. If you follow me along, go to my boldrepublic.com, my website. And I think I have this on my daily outrage, or is it my reading assignment page? No, I think it's my reading assignment page. I would like for you guys to see this story if you have a chance. Yeah, here it is. Now, Gruber, there's a couple of states out there. Vermont is one of them that actually have what they call single payer, but it's universal health care. How's that working for them? There's a couple of states that I'm aware of that have full coverage Government-run healthcare, just like in Canada, just like in the UK. Now, that's that state's decision. If they want to do that, they can go ahead and do that. Vermont is one of them. How's that working out? Well, this is an exercise in political theater here, but okay. Apparently, they're a little mad at Gruber. Gruber, on that's the controversial MIT professor who talked about you being stupid, was being paid $280,000 to assist in the governor's report to the legislator about their single-payer system. It turns out Gruber's numbers were all wrong. Unfortunately for single-payer proponents, only 2 of these existing conditions called Mullen triggers for Republican Senator Kevin Mullen, the legislator who pushed for their inclusion into the law, are addressed in the scope of work for a Gruber in 2014 contract in Vermont. Breitbart News has asked Lawrence Miller, Vermont's healthcare reform chief, if the state has plans to address other 4 requirements under their own system. Section, I'm not going to get into too many details, but there's a section of their law designed to launch the Green Mountain Care single-payer system in Vermont. And they say it's supposed to cover pretty much everything. Okay, I'll give you the short story. Gruber's numbers are off, and they're really not happy with this guy, but he's supposed to be a genius from MIT, and you're the stupid one. Each Vermont resident covered by Green Mountain Care will receive benefits with the 80% value or greater. When implemented, Green Mountain Care will not have a negative impact on Vermont's economy, they said, but of course, yes, it will. The financing for Green Mountain Care is sustainable. No, it's not. Administrative expenses will be reduced. No, they're going to increase. Cost containment efforts will result in a reduction of the rate of growth in Vermont's per capita healthcare spending. That's not happening. Healthcare professionals will be reimbursed at levels sufficient to allow Vermont to recruit and retain high-quality healthcare professionals. They're living in a dream world. This has not happened in any country that's ever tried it. In fact, Gruber was the main player in, Obamacare before it was Obamacare. If we go to Massachusetts, what's called Romney Care, right? Gruber was one of the main architects of that. Even Gruber says in the videos that we have of him, he admits flat out that the only way that Romney Care worked in Massachusetts was because they were able to get money from the federal government to run it. Thank you, Senator Kennedy, for getting that money. Now, if you remember, I told you that I was living in Massachusetts when Romney Care started. And the liberals that I knew, which is pretty much everybody in Massachusetts, so pretty much everybody I knew, said that I was the idiot when I said, this thing is going to cost more than they told you, a lot more. There is no way Massachusetts can afford Romney Care. And I was laughed at. I was called the idiot. Well, guess what? It was more than they could afford. And so they had to turn to the federal government and get a bunch of money so the system wouldn't go belly up. So here's Vermont that wants to start a universal healthcare system. In other words, socialist medicine, like Canada has, like the UK has. And somehow they think it's actually going to be more affordable and is going to attract doctors to want to work in their state, and it's going to save everybody a bunch of money. Now they have a problem. One of the architects of this was Gruber, who gave you Romney Care, who gave you Obamacare. This guy, by the way, accused you of being stupid. Okay. Well, I wonder if they're going to ask for their money back. Wonder if they're going to file any charges against them. Sue him or something, anyway. It looks to me like is he just stupid or is he misleading these people? It could be a little bit of both. I'm not sure yet.
Welcome to Wesley Mouch's Liberal Cafe. We have the only menu with fine print, so please read. You must wait to be seated. You cannot choose your own seat because you do not know where is best for you. Seating is arranged to best obtain the appearance of diversity and tolerance. Before you order, please fill out this form showing that you understand our sexual harassment policies. Notice that all of our staff represents an equal share of gender, race, and sexual preferences. In order to achieve this level of fairness, we have more staff than we need. Please give them something to do. You can look at the menu, but your order will be made for you because you do not know what is best for you. Menu in English upon request. The staff is paid no matter what, and all pay is equal to make it fair. Therefore, they have no incentive to work harder for you, so service sucks, and so does the food. Those who do not show up at the diner are sent bills for what they should have spent, and rather high bills for tips as well. When you tip, remember, quality of service does not matter. Tips are split up evenly between the waitresses to make it fair. Rich people who don't really eat in places like this are charged more and must pay for the meals of those who are less fortunate. They also must cover all tips, including their own and those who have not eaten yet but are assumed to be showing up soon. Since no one really wants to eat here, Wesley Mouch's Liberal Cafe is losing money big time, and so is subsidized by the government. Because most of the money is eaten up by the bureaucracy, very little of it actually gets to the diner. Interestingly, though, more and more money is allocated every year, but less and less seems to make it.
This restaurant is union run. You will be back. We are not asking. Come visit the Liberal Cafe today. Either way, you're paying for it. It's the Bold Republic Radio Show. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. Now, don't forget, anytime you've missed any or all of or part of a program, just go to boldrepublic.com, because right there is the show archives. You'll be able to see it. You can not just watch the program like a lot of you folks on the video stream or watching the program, but you can download just the audio. And a lot of people do that directly to their phones, whatever device you have. So you can just listen to the program at your convenience. And if you do hear something on the program and you want to respond to it, but you're listening to it later, just call the show. You know the on-air number by now. Just call the show, and answer machine will pick up, and we'll just schedule you in to be a caller on the program so you can do that later. Whether you're listening on radio stations or whether you download the program later, we just want you to get in on the program. So, okay. 2014, that's the year. It's coming to an end. Chicago, coldest in 110 years. What? By the way, I'm so sorry that California is getting rain. Let me tell you a couple of lies. And I'm going to tell you a couple of lies right out of California. You keep hearing people say, this was the worst California drought on record. No, it wasn't. I heard the Governor Moonbeam, just say that just a few months ago, and I just did something that a lot of reporters don't do. I looked it up. And lo and behold, it's not the driest drought or the longest drought. Yes, it was a bad one, but it has not broken any records. Sorry, California has been through worse. Okay, they're getting rain now. So all the climate change people out there, I'm sorry, California's coming out of a drought. Guess what? California goes through droughts from time to time. It's just part of that area of the world. It happens. Okay? All right, so the story that's in front of me this year has not only been one of the coldest in Chicago,
It is one of the few places on the entire planet that was cold for more than average this year. In fact, none of us have ever experienced a year as cold as 2014. Wow. The last time the average annual year-to-date temperature was this cold was back in 1904. Now, according to a research group, there is nobody from Illinois born before 1904 that is still living. So nationwide, there are 18 people older than 110 years old, but as far as they know, no one in that part of the country. Chicago area was one of only 3 or 4 places on Earth that had colder than, and I'm going to change the wording here, it says normal temperatures, recorded average. Here's what I mean by that. They always like to say, well, you know, temperature. In fact, I was listening to a weather girl from, a woman doing the weather at a television station that I'm on in the morning in Reno, Nevada. And she was talking about the weather, and she said, well, temperatures are below normal. I hate it when they do that. And it's not supposed to be this way, she said. Well, actually, here's what normal is. Everything is in a constant state of change and fluctuation, and nothing stays the same. That's what normal is. So when this story says, well, temperatures are below normal, no, this is completely normal. Don't forget, how were the Great Lakes formed? Since Chicago's on one of them. Glaciers. So what do you mean this is not normal for that part of the country? Or that part of the continent, for that matter? It's perfectly normal. The other cold pockets were mostly in the middle of nowhere, making Chicago easy, one of the most populated areas with extreme cold. In fact, temperatures globally between January and October were the warmest on record according to one group, but there's a bit of good news for those who loathe the cold. And by the way, warmest on record? No, they weren't either. Nothing unusual has been happening. Depends on where you are. However, the National Weather Service is forecasting a good chance that temperatures could drop below recorded average for the winter season. Okay. Now, having said that, no, this was not one of the hottest years on record worldwide. No. And again, when you average out the temperatures over the past 18 years, there is no up or down. We've been flatlined. Now, having said that, I came across a website, another website, that does nothing but look at the climate from more of an objective point of view. You're going to love this one. There are now, and you're not told about this, 100 peer-reviewed papers out there that says the sun drives the climate more than anything else. The sun. The sun is that big ball of burning gas in the middle of the solar system, so big it could swallow all the planets and not even burp. So you would think it would have a little bit of, you know, play somewhere in there, right? Proven by thousands of temperatures that were data set, the Earth's climate fluctuated in the past and today overwhelmingly with the sun's solar activity. If the and I'm reading from the story, if the IPCC truly examines past temperature data and solar data, they would have seen something remarkable. The Earth's climate follows what the sun is doing, yet they're still pushing this whole CO2 nonsense. Now, if you'd like to see the entire story on that, because it goes into a lot of detail, and I don't have time to go into the detail right now, you just go to boldrepublic.com, go to my reading assignment page, bottom right-hand side. Take that and send it all to all of your warmest friends out there, and just let them know. The main driving force is not CO2. According to peer-reviewed papers out there, more than 100 of them, it's the sun. I think there's a lot more to it than that, but I would say that would be a major driving force. Okay, tomorrow's Thursday. A lot to cover between now and then. I've got homework that starts now, and I will see you then.